On to this Sunday's Off the Ball with you until 7 o'clock this evening. First up, we are at Thomond Park to start you off on your day. Munster versus the Ospreys in Pool 4 of the Heineken Champions Cup. The teams getting ready to come out onto the pitch here in Limerick. Unfortunately though, whatever happens today, Munster won't be making it through to the quarter-finals for a record 19th time. Results in Sale and Leon yesterday put paid to that. But a chance to blow out those frustrations and get back to winning ways ahead of the 2-week break. Munster have made one change, I should add, from the side named on Friday afternoon. Worryingly enough for New Ireland head coach Andy Farrell, Chris Farrell has had to pull out with a knee injury. In comes Sammy Arnold to take the 13 shirt, while the Ospreys are unchanged from the side they named on Friday. Some big hitters like George North, Alwyn Jones and Justin Tipperick all back for the Ospreys, who have struggled this season. Just one win in all competitions, 12 defeats in a row. But the teams coming out here at Thomond Park, it's time for me to introduce Fiona, Steed and Bernard Jackman. Fiona, Bernard, obviously nothing on the line here for Munster this afternoon, only the pride. Disappointing set of results for them the last couple of days, but ultimately it's what's happened in the 5 previous matches.
Well, that's it. I mean, today is just a sum up of their season so far, I suppose, and they really need to set down a marker here for the rest of the season and show, I suppose, the fans that have turned out. There's a fair crowd here, not quite the usual atmosphere and not quite the usual full house for Champions Cup, Heineken Cup games. So really, really important that they actually put the bad results behind them, draw a line in the sand and start from here and move on. But it is ultimately very disappointing.
Bernard, is it difficult for teams in a situation like this where their fate has been decided, nothing but pride to play for?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's probably easier for the Ospreys. I mean, they'll just look to have a really positive performance here to slingshot them back into the Pro 14 on the back of it. But for Munster, they got to get rid of the hangover from last week and really put a performance in they can be proud of.
Well, we are set to get underway. Teams out on the pitch. Referee Matthew Raynell standing beside Luke Price of the Ospreys, who's about to kick us off. The Ospreys will be playing from left to right in this opening half into the Ballinanty end of Thomond Park, while Munster will be playing up into the Mayorstone end, into this very, very, very blinding sun in this opening half, which is just coming around in behind the goal, and they're going to be playing straight down into that sun for this opening half. Real low winter sun as Munster retain possession just outside their 22. Conor Murray in possession, and already a knock on from Munster, and Dan Lydiot gets it out to Nicky Smith, his prop, and the Ospreys are going to go wide straight away and pop back inside, but it's a slip from the Ospreys and they look to recover, and it's Alwyn Jones who gets his hand on it. And a couple of very sloppy early phases, but a lovely hack through from Munster, and all of a sudden is it Calvin Nash who's away down this right hand side trying to get to it? No, he doesn't, but ultimately it's caught, and the Ospreys retain possession just inside their own 22.
Yeah, I think Andrew Conway chasing really, really hard down there and doing really well to put pressure on. What was at the first was a mistake by Munster, but they've recovered very well from it.
Just inside the 22, the Ospreys have possession around 15 metres in from the touchline, and Sean Venter, their scrum half, prepares to send a box kick high and up in the direction of Mike Haley, who takes. Haley catches it 10 metres inside his own half and manages to steal an extra 5 or 6 yards with possession. Conor Murray now takes a step and plays it outside to Dave Kilcoyne. Hanrahan now moves back inside. Munster 10 metres inside the Ospreys half as Murray plays it out into the hands of Jack O'Donoghue. O'Donoghue called into Andy Farrell's Six Nations squad this week. Been one of Munster's best performers over the last few weeks in spite of their poor results. And Sammy Arnold now in possession. The Ospreys shooting up in defence. Justin Tipperick getting right into the face of Finian Wycherley, who's making his first European start this afternoon. And Murray sends the ball back in the direction of JJ Hanrahan, who floats a kick up into the air, and it's one for Andrew Conway to chase, and Conway just manages to disrupt things, and Munster retain possession with Sammy Arnold. Munster just outside the Ospreys 22 now as they look to go wide straight away, and that's a really good tackle, but Munster manages to get the ball outside. Peter O'Mahony managed to get the offload, didn't go forward in the end. Munster still 10 metres inside their own inside the Ospreys half now as they move back into the centre of the pitch. Stephen Archer with the carry and manages to get a good offload into the hands of Mike Haley, who skips it right down onto this near wing to Peter O'Mahony, who tries a little kick through, and it was taken by Hanno Dirksen. And ultimately Peter O'Mahony, there may have been a couple of knock-ons in there. The ball did go out of play as we wait for referee Matthew Raynell to decide who touched the ball last. Sloppy enough start up on both sides.
Yeah, it's been very sloppy in terms of the handling and the skill execution. A lot of passes not going to hand, but I suppose they've been going backwards, and there's a bit of fractured ball, and the defence aren't really set. But certainly Munster trying to get around Ospreys. Ospreys are very narrow in defence. You saw a great pass there from Haley to Peter Manny, but unfortunately he tried a little chip through, and it wasn't. It was regathered and went into touch.
Exactly 3 minutes on the clock here at Thomond Park. Still scoreless between Munster and the Ospreys, as Scott Otten prepares to throw into this line, and he finds Justin Tipperick. The Ospreys now at 15 metres inside their own half on this near touch line. And Sean Venter, scrum half, sends a box kick right up into the air. Not too much depth on it though, only goes about 5 or 6 yards. And in the end, 2 Munster players went up for it. Neither takes it, and it was a knock on, and the Ospreys have possession now, and Tipperick gets his hands on the ball. Looks to go left and right. Thought he found a gap, but he was tackled well by Finian Wycherley. Again, the Ospreys have possession. Bradley Davis slips it out the back to Luke Price, and now the Ospreys are going to try and move this out wide, but tackled well there out on that far touchline. Venter again now to Dan Baker as number 8, and Baker is stopped right on the halfway line, but a penalty to the Ospreys. Munster penalised for not rolling away, so the opening penalty of the afternoon to the Ospreys right on the halfway line. CJ Stander penalised, and the Ospreys will have an opportunity to kick down into Munster territory for the first time this afternoon.
Yeah, I think we need to take into account the Ospreys, as you mentioned. They've only won 1 out of 15 games, but I think a huge plus for them is Alan Wynne Jones. He's back in the team now. He played last week against Saracens. They were much more competitive, and he really is their talisman. And Tipperick has been highly involved. He's been captain while Alan Wynne Jones has been out, and he's given everything he possibly could to try and keep his team together, and it has been no easy task for him.
Well, that penalty has actually been overturned for a high tackle against Bradley Davies. And it's going to be a Munster penalty now on the halfway line. Matthew Raynell just getting a word in from one of his assistant referees as Rory Scannell sends the left-footed kick down inside into the Ospreys 22. And the first real attacking platform so far this afternoon, as we look at the replay coming up here. And Bradley Davies, just tried to clear out CJ Stander, and just with the arm up around the shoulder.
Yeah, not quite a neck roll, but very much, I suppose, that the putting anything above the shoulders now and trying to clear him out illegally.
First line-out opportunity of the afternoon for Munster as Niall Scannell prepares to throw. Scannell will be looking to prove a point this afternoon, left out of Andy Farrell's Six Nations squad, and he finds his man in the line-out of Munster. Look to set up them all early on. Just on this 22, but straight away it's going to be a penalty to the Ospreys. Crossing is called against Munster. Finian Wycherley it was who took the line out, and Munster just maybe moving a couple of players up ahead of Wycherley and blocking the Ospreys defence. Yeah,
the technical term is double banking. It's where you send somebody in front of the catcher, so it's very difficult to sack them all. And in fairness, sometimes you get away, but it's a risk worth taking because you can get a really good drive off it if it's missed by the referee. But well spotted by Matthew Raynell.
And the penalty cleared up into the Munster half of the pitch. And the Ospreys bring possession 10 metres inside into this Munster half, over on the far touchline. As we look at the replay now and see just what happened, it was Billy Holland who took the line out, and it was Finian Wycherley who just shifted up ahead of Billy Holland and blocked off that Ospreys defence from getting in. But Scott Otten now finds his man Justin Tipperick, and the Ospreys bring possession into midfield and get a good drive on there and bring it 10 metres inside the Munster half centre of the pitch, and they're going to shift back towards the left here. Luke Price with a lovely inside pass into Dan Evans, but Dan Evans was swallowed up well by the Munster defence. And now Mafu Fia, the tight head prop, tries to gain a couple of yards, moving out towards the right, around 20 yards inside this half, and the Ospreys have a man down in midfield, but we are going to play on. Hanno Dirksen it was now, who just takes up another little carry, and Bradley Davies again on the ball as the Ospreys move back towards the left side. But we are going to call up play now as possession just went over in the direction of that injured Ospreys player. And there's a man on the ground, and we're just going to call up play for a moment. Time is going to be off. 6.5 minutes played here at Thomond Park, still scoreless between Munster and the Ospreys, and it's Luke Price, the Ospreys out half, who has gone down.
Yeah.
Played that ball inside, and he was tackled very heavily after he passed by Finian Wycherley, as we see there.
I'd imagine the TMO was going to have a look at that. So it was a pre-play, a pre-pattern coming back around the blind side, and probably Wycherley could have pulled out of that. He just followed through a little bit on the 10, as all forwards like to do, and
he had a little bit of time to pull out of that one, didn't he?
He definitely could have, but I don't. Oh no, the referee's gone down to the big screen now to have a look.
And Luke Price certainly looks like he felt that one.
I suppose it's what you want, isn't it, from your young forwards, is to get in on top of the opposition number 10 early, but as long as it's done legally, and just to let him know that he's in Thomond Park. And I think it's the thing about Wycherley and with Jack O'Donoghue as well, they're the new breed that's coming up, and they're not afraid to put themselves about, and it's what's needed, but it's getting that balance between putting yourself about and doing it in the correct manner.
I agree completely. I really like Wycherley and Jack O'Donoghue, and I really like particularly Jack O'Sullivan was on the bench today. He has the potential to be as good as Max Deegan, and Caelan Doris was outstanding at our 20s level, has had a few injuries, but I'm excited to see him come on and show us what he can do.
So the penalty was given to the Ospreys in the end, and just a word from Matthew Reynal to Finian Wycherley. And Luke Price is back up on his feet, and he's going to have a shot at goal here, 40 metres out, straight in front of the post. Wycherley, as you mentioned, likes the physical part of the game. Similar enough to what he did to Johnny Sexton just down below those posts earlier on last season, when Sexton ripped the scrum hat off him. Endeared himself to the Munster fans that day.
Yeah, he's abrasive, and it's great to see him, continue to develop and come through. And Munster always had front five forwards who were very abrasive and wouldn't take a backward step. So I'm looking forward to seeing him continue to develop, because I think he has a future here.
So the first opportunity for points of the day with 7 minutes on the clock here at Thomond Park. Luke Price, who's played every game for the Ospreys so far, scored 20 points, 1 try and 15 off the tee. This to make it 18 points kicked for him so far in the tournament, and he makes no mistake, that flies straight between the posts. First points of the afternoon go to the Ospreys. They lead Munster here with 7.5 minutes gone by 3 points to nil. While over at Allianz Park, obviously Munster don't have a chance of qualifying, but Saracens know a win for them will put them through to the last 8. We might talk a little bit more after the game about the situation they find themselves in the Premiership. Confirmed now they will be relegated, but they lead Racing by 7 points to nil. Amaro Toje tried just 2 minutes into that game at Allianz Park, converted by Owen Farrell. So as things stand, they would go through to the last 8, and potentially they could be setting up a game against Leinster in the quarter-finals of the competition at the Aviva Stadium, depending on how Toulouse and Gloucester goes later on this afternoon as well. That would be one hell of a game, wouldn't it, at the Aviva Stadium in the quarter-finals?
It would for the neutrals, I suppose.
Are there any neutrals with the way Saracens have gone at the moment?
No, there's not many people sticking up for them. I see Brendan Venter's very, very outspoken on social media, and he's getting a lot of abuse. But listen, I think Saracens will have a hand to play, in this European Cup yet.
So we are back underway. Munster in possession right on this halfway line. Conor Murray prepares to just trying to wriggle the ball out of there and get set for a kick right on the halfway line, and his backline chasing up and sends it right down onto the 22, and it's taken well by Sean Venter, the scrum half, joined from the Cheetahs in the summer. He's played every game so far in the Heineken Champions Cup. Not too many Ospreys have done so. Been blighted by injuries, and a number of players returning, given a bit of time off after the World Cup with Wales. Such has been their struggles this season, as we mentioned, just 1 win in all competitions. Matt Sheridan, Carl Hogg in at the moment as interim coaches, with Mike Ruddock also brought in as their new performance director after they said goodbye to Alan Clark. But Munster in possession now, 10 metres inside their own half, just a couple of yards in from the near touchline. Conor Murray thought about going to the blind side, but in the end put it out into the open, and it's into the hands of Finian Wycherley. And Murray again goes right, Hanrahan now, and that pass is intercepted by Luke Price, and Luke Price could have been away, but he just dropped, but he just fell to his knees at the last second. And in the end, the Munster defence forces a knock-on from the Ospreys, and a chance to counter-attack here from Mike Haley. And Mike Haley, who's been one of Munster's most lethal attacking weapons so far in the tournament. But that pass is loose, and in the end, no advantage coming for the knock-on from the Ospreys. And it's going to be a Munster scrum 10 metres inside their own half, centre of the pitch. But that interception, if only Luke Price was able to stay on his feet, that's a big let off for Munster.
That's it. I think the Ospreys defence has been really, really aggressive. Their line speed has been really quick, and they're putting Munster under pressure. And if he had held on to that, it certainly looked like try under the posts. But then the piece is that Munster then turn over ball, and there was a little bit of indecision from Haley as to where to go or what to do. Whereas if he'd gone for the the gaps would have opened and were opened in front of him. So a little bit of indecision in the early sort of 10 minutes or stuff. It's I think both teams are just feeling their way around it, and but definitely for me the line speed of the Ospreys defence has been very impressive.
Yeah, you can see the evolution of Munster's attack and play, that they're trying to play more with, but probably just don't have the shape or the system or the understanding yet to get there. I mean, the most obvious game for me was Ulster away, where having the ball was actually a hindrance to them, but they continued to play from deep in their own half, and we saw there that there's an intention to get the ball into Conway's hands, but their depth wasn't sufficient that they could get around that blitz defence, and I suppose from Larker's point of view, it's going to be a learning from experience and trying to get consistency of selection, but you can see the ambition is there, but at the moment we're struggling to see the actual execution and ability to do it.
I think as well, like Sammy Arnold coming in, sort of last minute, or whether it was earlier today or whatever, that he's known about it. Like, he hasn't played an awful lot there in terms of with JJ and Jackman. There's been mixing around. It's like Bernard is saying, if we can get, I suppose all the top players out and consistently out over the remainder of the season, and they have the Pro 14 now, I suppose that they'll have their weekends off by right from the Champions Cup, so there should be no excuses for them. Yeah,
the only problem is they're going to lose like Chris Farrell for a while with Ireland again, so it is going to be quite difficult.
Now Andrew Conway is going to have to come off. It looks like he's heading down the tunnel for a HIA. The clock had been stopped for a few minutes. Dan Goggin is on in his place, and we're going to reset here with a scrum for Munster, 10 metres inside their own half of the pitch. And Matthew Raynal just calling a halt to it again. The front rows just messing around a little, not stable, and we're going to reset that scrum. But Andrew Conway is gone off down the tunnel. It looks like he's going to be taking on a HIA, and as we said, Dan Goggin in. Conway just shipped a heavy hit when he went in on George North there after the Ospreys interception, and was down receiving treatment for a few minutes.
I think the interesting thing is the set play, that the four inside backs, shall we say, line up directly behind the scrum for the listeners, and then they're splitting, so there's options. It's causing, I suppose, indecision in the Ospreys defence as well. But you'd like to see, and now you see the scrum.
Free kick for the Ospreys straight away. Munster pushing a little bit too early, and that attacking platform is over already. The Munster forwards pleading their case with Matthew Raynal, but
you sort of have to get the basics right first, before you start. I know what they're trying to do with that play is as old as I am nearly, in terms of creating the indecision, and then depending on your forward, your backs go left or right, but let's get the scrum right first, and let's get the ball first.
Back the forwards come. The Ospreys have decided they're going to scrum it down once again. 12 minutes played here at Thomond Park, and it's the Ospreys who lead Munster by 3 points to 0. You're listening to Off the Ball this Sunday. Neil Treacy alongside Bernard Jackman and Fiona Steed at Thomond Park. Coming up a little bit later on, we're going to have all the action from Anfield in the Premier League. Liverpool up against Manchester United. Nathan Murphy will be alongside David Myler for that at 4:30. And we'll also keep you updated on today's AIB All-Ireland Club Football and Hurling Finals. The hurling final getting underway at 2 o'clock. Maura Trassany-Callig will be there watching for us. And that's a strong scrum for Munster. But ultimately, Matthew Raynal says it was done so illegally. It's going to be a penalty for the Ospreys, right centre of the pitch, 40 metres out.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly where Luke Price kicked the first penalty from the late tackle from Wycherley, and just unnerving start really from Munster. I know he's only 12 minutes gone, but just not really a fluid. You expect him to get some set piece dominance, and the first two scrums have gone against him, between a free kick and a scrum penalty there, and it just looked a little bit unsettled and anxious, as I suppose you can understand. But you would expect him to come out and just be really direct and really physical, and take the game to Ospreys, whereas they seem to be trying to do a little bit too much with the ball.
They might have been a little bit unfortunate there, just watching the replay of the scrum. Matthew Raynal, he kind of indicated with his hands that Munster had just pulled back the ball. Someone had put their hands in and dragged it back, but just on the replay, I think he was a little bit blindsided. It would have been his assistant referee calling it. The ball just popped out the side of the scrum rather than coming back on the Munster side, but the net result is a kick just inside the 10-metre line for Luke Price, on target a few minutes ago from roughly the same spot on the pitch. And this to put the Ospreys into an early 6-point lead. And straight between the posts it goes. The Ospreys lead Munster now at Thomond Park by 6 points to 0 with 14 minutes played. A slow start for Munster.
Yeah, they haven't really managed to maintain possession and to go through the phases. They're trying to play this offloading game, which, you know, when it works it will be good, but it's just not there yet. But, you know, do they continue now because there's nothing to lose, and do they use this as a platform to continue to experiment with that? And
JJ Hanrahan sends the kick-off right down towards the 22, and it's well taken by Hanno Dirksen of the Ospreys just outside his 22. A yard or so in from the touchline. A very difficult take, but he did well under a lot of Munster pressure, as the Ospreys carry and move back in field and give Sean Venter a better angle to launch this box kick down into the Munster half, and gets plenty of height, not a huge amount of distance, but into that zone it's going to be very difficult for Munster, and it's well batted down by Hanno Dirksen, and the Ospreys have a chance again. And Scott Otten out to Luke Price, and that's a very loose pass, and Munster almost intercepted, and now they do intercept, and hands on the ball is going to be Dan Goggin, who came on in the last few minutes, and Munster now just 5 metres out, but it's going to be pulled back. Matthew Raynell says Dan Goggin knocked it on as he went to intercept.
Did it actually hit the ground, or did he not knock it on into himself?
It looked from where we were standing that Dan Goggin had safely goes, it did. Yeah, it was Sammy Arnold who actually dived on the ball initially before the interception from Goggin, and he just fumbled the ball along the ground.
Off his knee, it looks like, though, to me, with my red eyes on.
I think it hit his hand first. I think it hit his hand first. So it's going to be a scrum to the Ospreys here, 10-15 metres out from their own try line, 15 metres in from the or 20 metres in from that far touch line. But again, just scrappy play from both sides, really. We're yet to see either side getting close to the try line inside this opening quarter of an hour. The Ospreys leading Munster, to repeat, by 6 points to 0. 2 penalties from Luke Price, both right on 40 metres out, straight in front of the posts, as the Ospreys come away with the ball off the back of that scrum, and Dan Baker with a hard carry brings it up outside the 22 and offloads well to Justin Tipperick as the Ospreys get up to within 10 metres of the Munster halfway. Luke Price now shifts it outside, and Sean Venter goes back inside into the centre of the pitch, but Stephen Archer has done well along with a teammate to just drive them back slowly and stall them up. Scott Williams now out on this near touchline. A good counter-rucking there from Sam Arnold, who just slowed up the Ospreys ball. But it's going to be a penalty to the Ospreys here, 15 metres inside their own half. Yeah, Munster called for not rolling away. It was Stephen Archer who'd made the tackle.
The break from Dan Baker, though, off the back of the scrum, it's a long time since you've seen a number 8 making 20 yards off the back of the scrum, and it just shouldn't be happening, you know. Obviously he took a slightly wider angle, aimed for JJ, and JJ I suppose stood up to him, but the power of Baker went through it until the support came. But it was a good 20-yard carry, and we need to be much more aggressive in the tackle.
Yeah, I think the problem was JJ and Roy Scannell went high. That's actually Jack O'Donoghue, and JJ went high, and he is a very strong ball carrier, and he just got great leg drive, and then he got the offload away to Tipperick, and it was a great ball for Ospreys going forward.
He just seemed to carry JJ Hanrahan with him for about 5 or 6 yards. But the Ospreys clear that penalty 10 metres inside into the Munster half, and they go towards the back of the line out now to Tipperick and out to Luke Price, and that's a good offload from Baker, but it's just spilled by one of the Ospreys' hands by George North, and it's going to be a Munster scrum just inside their own half of the pitch. And I can already see, we mentioned the sun before the game, I can see some of those Munster players looking down towards those posts and hands up over the forehead. It's really having an impact in this first half of the game.
Yeah, it has, and in fairness, some of the opportunities in possession Ospreys have had is from box kicks that they've won back, and you
send it straight up into that
Conor Murray's been under them, and he just seems to have lost it at the last minute, and that's given him a little bit of, I suppose, unstructured ball. But again, you know by Ospreys, some of their handling, that their team lacking in confidence. I mean, they're making easy things look difficult, and making some key errors as well.
And interesting as well from Ospreys, they've used Tipperick in the line out at least 3 times now to secure possession. So, which I know that they use him a lot, but it's not what I'd be doing with my number 7 if you want to play the game that they want to play in terms of going around and the using the space that's available to them.
Scrum Munster just inside their own half of the pitch, and for the second time today, Munster have been pinged on their own scrum. The first time round it was a free kick, but this time round it's a penalty. And Matthew Raynell says Stephen Archer dropped his knee to the ground. And I was just going to point out that coming into this game, Munster's scrum had been one of the better components of their game. They'd won 34 of their 35 put-ins, but that's 2 in a row now to start this match that they've been turned over on.
Yeah, whatever about the set piece penalties, and obviously it's frustrating for Johan van Gran and the crowd. But there's been the two unforced penalties. One is the Wycherley tackle, and the other one is the Stephen Archer not rolling away after the tackle that gave them the field position there. And they just need to be whiter than white for the moment. They're definitely getting on Matthew Reynolds' bad side, and they're just giving the Ospreys, I suppose, soft entries into the game. And Ospreys will feed off this, and if they get this kick, they'll be in a strongest position after 20 minutes.
Yeah, and this time around it's going to be Kai Evans who's going to take the kick. It's about 7 or 8 metres further back from where Luke Price would have hit those opening two, but again straight in front of the post. Oh no, it's... And the kick gets drilled low, straight into the... Drilled low, but it's just drifted to the right and wide, and it stays the same. And Munster have possession 10 metres inside their own half now. The kick over the top. Collected and cleared by the Ospreys, drilled right back into the 22 and into the hands now of JJ Hanrahan, who sends it right back down into the direction of Luke Price, who collects it just outside his own 22. And again the kick, and it's just back and forth at the moment really. Mike Haley has all the time in the world under that and brings it up towards the gain line and floats one into the air, and he does very well to retain possession 10 metres inside the Munster half. And now can they launch a counter-attack off this? Billy Holland now in possession. Jack O'Donoghue, centre of the pitch, 10 metres inside this Ospreys half. Some sloppy ball from Munster there, but is there a gap there for Dave Kilcoyne to work with? Dave Kilcoyne brings possession up towards the 22, 5 metres in from this touchline. Billy Holland now with a carry up as Munster get in towards the 22. Skip pass out from Skips Finian Wycherley into the hands of Peter O'Mahony, and Conor Murray went towards the right, but he was tackled just as he was passing the ball. An advantage being played for Munster. We'll have to wait and see, is it a knock-on or a penalty advantage? Indication to Conor Murray it's just a knock-on advantage. Murray was checking with Matthew Reynolds, but we are going to come back and we're just going to reset with that scrum to Munster.
God, we do need to play on though. Do you know the way waiting to decide whether you were going to get a penalty out of it? Like, that was our first bit of momentum and go forward ball. Dave Kilcoyne making an excellent breakdown along this touchline, and you could hear the crowd then getting behind them, and you'd have to question whether Lydiate was, whether it was an accidental or not. But we have to go with the ref. We can't play the whistle. Like, it's what you coach the under 10s, isn't it, to play the ref.
Absolutely. I think you could sense the crowd's frustration. That was the best period of the game Munster have had, and it was what, 30 seconds of possession with a little bit of go forward, and everybody just stopped, and Conor was asking the referee what was it, and then when he didn't decide to play on, I presume it was a penalty, but he obviously, there was no one to pass it to. Everybody else just stopped completely, and maybe they feel they've got something up their sleeve from the scrum, and they're better off going from here, but that's not great for Munster.
Yeah, Munster choosing to back their scrum, and again it's coming under a bit of pressure, gone to ground on that first set. Dave Kilcoyne and Mafu Fia, as we were watching on our near side. For Munster setting with Mike Haley and Calvin Nash on the blind side.
Like, Haley did exceptionally well from his own, retrieving his own kick, looking into the sun as he did it, and that was the, I suppose, the catalyst to start that momentum going forward. So he's certainly done really, really well. And they have an overlap here. I wonder, are they going to do a swing round to the left, which would be unorthodox from as regards to a set play off it, but they certainly have the numbers over this side.
And confirmation now that that HIA replacement is permanent now. Dan Goggin is going to stay on. Andrew Conway failing that HIA as Munster bring possession. CJ Stander carrying up in towards the 22, and Munster choosing to go right now with the ball. Midway between the 22 and the try line, Stephen Archer with the latest carry. And Conor Murray just trying to speed things up, breaking from the left. And standing in at scrum half temporarily is going to be Billy Holland, who plays as a Finian Wycherley. Munster now just 6-7 metres out from the try line, centre of the pitch. Still trailing by 6 points to nil. Those two Luke Price penalties. We're 24 minutes into the game here at Thomond Park. Munster reverting to the short carries now, close to the try line, just 5 metres out. Centre of the pitch, but it's turned over once again from the Ospreys. Munster holding on.
Like, that's criminal on your 5 metre line, you know, on the attacking 5 metre line to give away that for a penalty. I mean, the Ospreys are doing exceptionally well there with managing to hold it up, and you know, Alan Wynne-Jones I think is getting the credit and the plaudits from his teammates as to that, you know, he was responsible for it. But that was, you know, we've had a passage of play now where we've had the ball for a few minutes and made good inroads, and then a penalty again to turn over possession.
Yeah, it was Munster were more direct in that passage of play than they have been. They got his right hand side up in the scrum. Archer gave the right angle to CJ and he charged at the Ospreys 10 Luke Price, and they got go forward. But I agree with you, Fiona, it's criminal to be 5 yards out from the opposition goal line on slow ball and you're in your pods picking and going, and to not get the right numbers to the breakdown is a real worry.
Has this been the problem for Munster throughout this campaign though, that as they're getting towards the 22 the invention slows down?
Yeah, they are try shy. I mean, you don't need invention. I mean, you look at Leinster in that situation, the backs would never touch it unless it was completely an overlap. They would just trust their forwards to go 10-15 phases and force a penalty at least for more than 97 points.
And Munster have done well off the back of that line out, and it's taken in, and there's a little bit of pushing and shoving now. Finian Wycherley getting right up into the face of Alan Wynne-Jones, but it's going to be a Munster scrum. They turn that over right on the halfway line, 10 metres in from the near touchline.
I'm just wondering, could we fine Bernard for every time he mentions Leinster's dominance in today's programme? Would that be possible?
But it is surely worth talking about, because looking at
it is.
Looking at the numbers, like if we're talking the productivity of it all, looking last night, Munster have made the third most carries coming into this weekend, this round. Munster made the third most carries out of any team.
Yeah.
Only one team has scored fewer tries.
Yeah, it's how effective you are in the carry and what happens after that phase, you know, and that's where we're not clinical, and that's where I think it'll take time for it to be bedded in, and you have to stick with the process. When you've changed the system and changed the belief is the way you have to play, you have to stick with it. There's no point in giving up with it now, you know.
And safe in and out off that scrum for Munster, and JJ Hanrahan has possession and puts it into the hands of Sammy Arnold with a big carry, gaining 3 or 4 yards along the ground. Munster into the Ospreys half now, centre of the pitch. Peter O'Mahony the latest on the ball, but he's driven back half a yard, and Hanrahan now, and skip pass out onto the wing, and it's a fly hack through, but it's gone eventually gone out into touch, and it's going to be an Ospreys ball just inside their own 22 on the far touchline. Dan Goggin it was, he just put in the little grubber, but unfortunately just put a little bit too much zip on it.
It was a lovely miss pass from Rory Scannell, and that shows, you know, off his left hand, you know, the skills that we have there, and we have certain skill sets that we can use, but you just have to, you know, it's just not always happening. But I'm going to be patient, I think, for now.
Line out Ospreys just inside their own 22 on the far touchline. Justin Tipperick standing towards the back of the line out. He's been a target on a number of occasions for Scott Otten in this first half. Finian Wycherley guarding Bradley Davies, and in the end they put Davies up, and the Ospreys retain possession and slowly set up a maul, edging towards the 22, but Sean Venter tapping Otten on the back and letting him know he wants it, and he's going to send a kick down into the direction of Dan Goggin, and it goes straight out, and it's going to be an Ospreys ball, or it's going to be a Munster ball 10 metres inside the Ospreys half of the pitch. Niall Scannell throw in, and the crowd just starting to make a bit of noise. Far from a sellout this afternoon at Thomond Park, and the line out is taken well, and Conor Murray does well to just get his hands on the ball and drift it outside, and they carry possession up towards the 22 now, centre of the pitch. Murray gets back up and skips a pass out to CJ Stander, who drifts back in field and manages to gain an extra couple of yards on the ground. Again Murray goes left to Hanrahan, and Sam Arnold now is tackled well right on that 22, 15 in from the near touchline. Stander again with a carry, and he has Niall Scannell in support, driving him up inside the 22. Hanrahan into Calvin Nash, one of the first times he's got his hands on the ball so far, making his European debut this afternoon. Dave Kilcoyne supported by Niall Scannell, and Murray goes towards the right and into the hands of Hanrahan. And now Rory Scanlon skips it out onto the far side to Peter O'Mahony, but O'Mahony has just drifted out into touch, and the Ospreys are going to have the ball here just inside their own 22 line out on that far side of the pitch.
Yeah, again, positive play. You know, you see CJ and Killer trying to give Munster go forward, and Munster obviously felt he could get round him there and pull the trigger to go wide, but unfortunately Peter, you know, is taking up position on the wing, and Peter's a brilliant player, but he's probably not, you know, suited to playing those outside channels, and he gets shoved into touch with the inside support defence. But positive from Munster, but again, I think they're going to wide too early there, and they just need to probably get the ground a little bit earlier. You see the Ospreys tackle technique, they're trying to choke the ball carrier up, which is just slowing the ball down for 2 or 3 seconds, which is giving him a chance to get set and get speed from the outside.
Yeah, and I think as well he's not going to be pleased. You know, Luke Morgan, the number 11 for Ospreys, pushing him into touch. But again, it's the positioning. He's done it a few times. It was a lovely skip pass again. But you know, do you want your blindside flanker, your number 6, out there in those channels as the main carrier, possibly as the support?
Meanwhile, across the pond over in Allianz Park, quite a game going on between Saracens and Racing 92 at the moment. Saracens now 17-14 in front. Tries for Maro Itoje and Makavuna Pola, Varimi Vakatawa and Louis Dipicho scoring for Racing. A win for Saracens puts them into the quarterfinals, while Racing looking to secure a home quarterfinal.
I think it's a big moment here. The Ospreys had a line out in their own 22. They got blown for not straight from Scott Otten. Munster had the choice. They decided to go for the line out, but you know realistically they need to turn this into points now, whether it's even 3 points, build some pressure. They'll be down here for a while. They've got nothing to show for it, and he expects good set piece here, and I think a maul and test that Ospreys forwards.
Very narrow defence here from the Ospreys. As we look inside, they're leaving a gap of around 20-25 metres towards the near touchline. On our side, the line out taking place on the far side of the pitch, around 5 metres inside the Ospreys 22. Matthew Reynal still just giving instructions to the players not to close that gap as Scannell prepares to throw, and he sends it up into the hands of Finian Wycherley, who pops it off towards Jack O'Donoghue, and Munster going up off the top, and it's a lovely skip inside from Sammy Arnold. And Conor Murray now breaking towards the left, and Conor Murray getting towards the line. Munster very close to the try line here now as they try to shove over, and the Ospreys looking to spoil it, and Munster are over, and it's a try for Munster finally. A lot of huffing and puffing so far, but they finally get over the line, and it's CJ Stander who comes away with the ball.
Yeah, it all started from the line out, and they moved the point of contact once they secured the ball in the line out, and then they did the peel round coming in, and Conor Murray involved twice in that. I think he's certainly upped his game today, and resulting in a try from CJ Stander, which is, like Bernard was saying, like it's half an hour gone. It's the first time that we've managed to convert the bit of possession that we've had into points, so definitely big improvement there. And
simple enough from Stander. The Ospreys just slow to get around and protect that open side of the field, and in the end Stander just breaking out to the left and evading the tackle of Scott Otten to score his 10th try in the Heineken Champions Cup and his 47th appearance in this competition for Munster, as JJ Hanrahan with a routine enough conversion slots in him for the first time this afternoon with half an hour played. Munster lead the Ospreys. It's Munster 7, the Ospreys 6.
Yeah, it's really good carry by Sam Arnold. He went into the seam of the line out, the space between the back and the 10, got over the gain line, and I agree with Fiona. Connors looked sharp. If there's been space to attack himself, he's gone after that, and that's a huge positive for Munster.
You mentioned Conor Murray is looking sharp. Does he look like a man who's feeling a bit of pressure?
Well, he should be. I mean, Cooney's been non-stop, but you never know by Conor because he looks so calm and collected, but definitely he's gone for the gaps when they've been there today.
It's bits that we haven't seen from him necessarily, thus far this season, so it's great to see because he's well capable of it. And pressure like that is what you need. It's what you need as an Ireland coach. You want people putting people under pressure, and perhaps that hasn't been the case for the last few years.
And it's Murray who sends a box kick up towards the Munster 10-metre line, and that's a brilliant take by Calvin Nash, who has had to be patient to see the ball so far in this half. But Conor Murray sends another box kick over the top, but in the end it was straight into the hands of Luke Price, who kicks it back down into the Munster 22 to Mike Haley, and Haley drills this one looking to find touch, but it's going to stay inside infield, and Kai Evans now in possession. George North to Dan Baker, and Dan Baker holds on to possession as the Ospreys get up towards the halfway line. Dan Lydiot now stopped by a couple of Munster players. The Ospreys still just a couple of yards inside their own half in this middle third of the pitch. And Luke Price towards the left side, and George North skips it out, and just overrunning it was Bradley Davies. And it's gone out into touch, and Matthew Reynolds just going to decide it's actually going to be an Osprey scrum is what's being called.
Yeah,
it was just a Dan Goggin hand as that pass went out towards Bradley Davies was the call, so it was a Munster knock on, and it's going to be an Ospreys line out. And again, we're just a little bit of chat between Matthew Reynald, the referee, and his assistant, and that has been turned over, that decision. It's going to be a Munster scrum. In the end, it was deemed that Dan Goggin, who did get a hand on it, but just knocked the ball back instead of forward.
Yeah, in fairness, Alan Wynne Jones, the Ospreys player was trying to convince the referee that there was a knock on, but you're right, it was knocked back. It was knocked back from Munster player back towards his own line, which changed the flight of contact. So really good work between the assistant touch judge and assistant referee and referee to make the right decision.
And Alan Wynne trying to influence a referee, never.
As all good captains should be, I think.
Absolutely.
I think as we've been praising Conor for his running game, we have to question his kicking game. There's been twice where they've kicked back after regathering and it's gone too far down the middle of the field and allowed Ospreys to come back at him. He just needs to tighten it up a little bit.
So 35 minutes played here at Thomond Park, and it's Munster who lead the Ospreys by 7 points to 6. CJ Stander's try just a few minutes ago converted by JJ Hanrahan in response to Luke Price's 2 penalties. Munster in possession of the ball now, right on the halfway line with the scrum put in on the far side of the pitch, around 6-7 metres in from that far touch line. Murray feeds and the scrum holds steady, and he sends it out towards Rory Scannell, and the Munster find a gap. Scannell in the end shakes off a couple of tackles, and Munster bring possession inside the Ospreys 10 metre line, and quickly they try to get the ball out towards Calvin Nash, who drifts back inside and looks to find a little hole but doesn't, and he's stopped 10 metres inside the Ospreys half. Murray goes back towards that blind side again towards Stander, who has Billy Holland in support to drive over, and Murray now to Jack O'Donoghue, and that's a lovely pass out towards JJ Hanrahan. Is there a gap here for Rory Scannell to run through? Rory Scannell's tackled well, and the Ospreys do well to get out of the way and avoid giving away an offside penalty there, and Calvin Nash drifting back inside, and it's a penalty advantage for Munster. Calvin Nash was tackled high, and a chance for Munster to have a free shot maybe, and JJ Hanrahan is going to play a crossfield kick over into the 22, and that's taken brilliantly by Dan Goggin. What an absolutely outstanding catch, and he tries to offload, and Munster now just 5-6 metres from the Ospreys line. This is better from Munster, just speeding up the game slightly. Another strong carry brings them up to within 5 of the Ospreys try line. Another penalty advantage coming as Conor Murray tries to fish that ball out of the bottom of the ruck, and they go towards that blind side on the far side of the pitch. Mike Haley drifts it over, and it's Dan Goggin who has possession of the ball, trying to come back in field and reset play, and Murray skips it out towards Billy Holland. Again, the advantage being played for Munster, but we are going to come back for that penalty. No advantage being played, and it's a penalty for Munster, 5 metres out from the Ospreys try line, relatively straight in front of the post. But Fiona and Bernard, better from Munster.
Much better from Munster. You know, up the intensity and the accuracy as well. You know, the early match nerves, or the poor handling that we saw at the start. And Goggin has done really well since he's come in. He's been involved. They've gone.
And they've tried to take it quickly, and in the end they've spilled it, and we are going to come back. Stephen Archer, I think, thought he might have been through for a rare try, but I think we are just going to come back. I think Matthew Reynald wasn't ready to go.
But that's criminal.
And it's actually going to go down as a Munster knock on and an Osprey scrum.
Yeah, so Conor, it looked like they were going to go for a scrum, and both packs were together, and Conor seemed to think that he would go quickly, and he tapped, but he must have knocked it on as he tapped it. We were a little bit blindsided by the body of people, but Matthew Reynard's come back now for a scrum for Ospreys, which is really letting them off the hook. You fancied Munster to score from that position, even if it was just 3 points. It was a gimme kick.
Yeah, and just when they'd built the momentum, we're back on the 5 metre line. It's nearly exactly the same place where they coughed up possession there a while ago with the penalty on the 5 metre line, and it's just having that control and that discipline in that zone of the pitch, and they had done so well. We were in the middle of praising them for their accuracy and for the pace at which they were playing, and then that's a big let off for Ospreys now on the we're 37 minutes in, and it's a big let off for them.
Let's be honest, they're probably going to go and win this match, but that example typifies kind of the European campaign, missing that drop goal in the last minute to beat Racing Metro here, allowing Saracens, or not getting the bonus point away to Saracens when they went to the corner instead of taking the points. There's just been little moments where they just haven't been as I suppose as clear in their mind or as cohesive or composed as they have been in the past. Great Munster teams in the past have always maximised the points that they need to get in each situation.
2.5 minutes to go until the half-time break here. Munster leading by 7 points to 6 against the Ospreys at Thomond Park, as the Ospreys get ready to clear their lines. The ball's slow to come out of the back of this scrum. Dan Baker just having to really rummage around and present it for Sean Venter, who goes towards the left, and in the end Dan Evans kicks and sends it out straight into touch, but only gets it midway between the try line and the 22. So Munster are going to have another crack at this try line with 1.5 minutes to go before the half-time break. A reminder as well, a really, really good game developing over at Allianz Park. Racing 92 now 21-17 in front against Saracens. A second try of the afternoon for Veremi Vakatawa.
But the Ospreys forwards will be furious with Evans there. I mean, it was a rock solid scrum. He's a left footer, and he just gives Munster a line out 16-17 yards out, and you'd imagine they'll come back at him again.
And they go towards the tail of that line out, and it's taken well by Peter O'Mahony, and they get the line out, and they get them all moving quickly and gain a few yards to bring it up towards 5 metres from the line. Alan Wynne-Jones, though, is right in on top of those Munster forwards trying to spoil it, but in the end Jack O'Donoghue's managed to break off the back, but he's stopped well by the Ospreys defence. Dave Kilcoyne now with a hard carry, but tackled well by Dan Lydiot. Stander again, drifting towards the try line, right under the post now, and Conor Murray looked at, no, it wasn't Conor Murray, it was Jack O'Donoghue who's diving right over the top, but he's stopped short. Munster right under the right post pad here, underneath the posts, as they get another short carry, and they're diving towards the bottom of that post pad. Advantage being played for Munster, and it's a try. The try is given. A second try of the afternoon for Munster, right underneath that pile of bodies. And Munster has their second try of the afternoon. Stephen Archer is walking away. He's being patted on the head, and we're trying to see, it could have been any of a handful. Stephen Archer is walking away with a big smile on his face.
Well, we'll give it to him. It's not often that the tight heads get the glory, so we'll certainly give it to Archer there. But I mean, it started with the line out, the accuracy of the line out, the speed of delivery off it, and the speed of the maul coming in. And Alan Wynne, like you were saying, did his absolute best to be the tackler at the maul and to get inside, but they did really well. Jack O'Donoghue involved a couple of times again, really showing his aggression, and CJ carrying well. So a good result, and really needed just before half time. Yeah,
it was definitely it was Archer. I think there was a great latch from Wycherley and Peter O'Mahony, which took away the Ospreys players, and I suppose gave the referee a clear sight of the ball hitting the bottom of the post, but that'll settle him down. They needed that.
Yeah, and the half-time whistle goes as JJ Hanrahan slots that conversion, and the try is awarded to Stephen Archer. Just his 4th ever Munster try in his 204th Munster appearance. The veteran who passed the 200 mark earlier this season. So it's Munster who lead at the half-time break here by 14 points to 6. Fiona and Bernard, quick thoughts before we go back to the studio. And Joe, Munster leading here by 8 points. Very slow to get going, but in the last 10 minutes have probably shown a bit more. Yeah, they have. They've just been more direct, winning the collision, stronger carries. Goggin showed real hunger to win that crossfield kick, and that got the crowd going, and then that was much better for them. Once they got in close, they didn't panic, didn't try and go wide, and just use their forwards to batter their way over the line. So I think that's the roadmap for the second half. More of that.
Yeah, intensity and accuracy, that's what will get us through this and get us through this hump as well, and they certainly show that in the last 5-10 minutes. So we just need to keep that going. Like Bernard is saying, I think they have the skills. It's just to build that momentum and to keep going with the accuracy of it. There's no point in having intensity if they're not accurate. Yeah, so that's the half-time whistle here at Thomond Park, and it's Munster who lead by 14 points to 6. We'll have more from Fiona and Bernard during the second half, but for now here at Thomond Park, we'll go back to Joe in the studio.
Yeah, thanks very much. Neil Treacy there alongside Bernard Jackman and Fiona Steed. Half-time, and not the most fluent Munster performance we've ever seen, but they lead by 14 points to 6. Elsewhere at Allianz Park, a bad weekend is turning worse for Saracens. They trail Racing by 17 points to 21. just on the stroke of half-time. This on the weekend when Premiership Rugby have confirmed that Saracens will be relegated from the Premiership at the end of the season. That was announced yesterday, and they need to win this game against Racing today to make it to the knockout stages. They had a very good start. They took the lead, but Racing have come back into it, so they trail by 4, Saracens, at the break. We're going to take a quick break ourselves. We will be back over to Thomond Park in due course. We'll also check in at Crow Park with more Treacy Calig, where Ballyhale Shamrocks take on Barsley in the next 10 minutes or so, to be followed in the football by Currafin of Galway against Kilcoo of Down. So Crow Park next.
Munster versus the Ospreys, live from Thomond Park.
On Off the Ball.
With Vodafone, official sponsors of the Irish rugby team. Team of us, everyone in.
Join that conversation on Facebook and Twitter.
The Toyota Camry is a car that simply demands your attention. Sleek design, luxurious comfort and automatic transmission with a powerful engine that delivers an impressive 218 horsepower. Exclusively available in self-charging hybrid and all from just €39,800. Test drive the iconic Toyota Camry today, because once you sit in, you'll find there's no turning back. Toyota, built for a better world. Price excludes delivery and related charges.
For a limited time, claim up to €150 cash back when you purchase selected Neff home appliances. To find out more, go online to powercity.ie or call in store today.
The Sport Ireland campus Blanchardstown is the home of Irish sport, not just for our athletes, but for you and the community. For families, check out our kids camps, sport academies and birthday parties. For adults, why not join our newly refurbished gym with a 50-metre swimming pool, or book one of our world-class indoor or outdoor facilities, including our athletics track, sports pitches and courts. And for companies, check out our team building days, conference facilities and events. All this and more at sportirelandcampus.ie.
Get stuck into the new year with the big 2020 save from Lidl. There's super savings in store and delicious recipes waiting for you online. Warm up those cold winter evenings with our 20-minute recipe for sticky beef stir-fry with ginger and soy. Made with our lean and succulent ready-to-wok Irish beef. Was €2.49, now €2. Delightfully sizzled in fry like one cow spray, only $1.99. And don't forget, we check out our competitors' prices weekly. So when you check out, you always get better value. The big 2020 save from Lidl. More for you.
Some people strictly follow the steps.
And 1, 2,
Others
3,
follow their own
1, 2,
beat,
3.
like Uncle Fintan at Saoirse's wedding.
I'm 87 and still a mover.
If you've a step of your own in mind, like a new car or kitchen, Avantcard offers Ireland's lowest rate on loans over 20k if you've a great credit profile. Apply today at avantcard.ie.
Lending criteria, T's and C's apply. New applications only. Info correct 9th of December 2019. Source ccpc.ie. Avantcard Act. Trading as Avantcard is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Avantcard. You do you, we do loans.
Mattresses delivered anywhere in Ireland, absolutely free. Choose from a fantastic range. Mattresses Delivered is a wholly owned subsidiary of Bargaintown. That's mattresses-delivered. Don't forget the hyphen.
Thinking of a new car for the new year? On Dundeel, it's never been easier, with Ireland's widest selection of cars from trusted dealerships. Whether it's warranties or monthly finance, we have every option available for you. Thinking of changing your car? Think Dundeel, Ireland's largest car showroom in the palm of your hand.
For a limited time only, get Air's totally unlimited broadband for just $39.99 a month for 12 months. Sign up today and you'll also get Amazon Prime Video on us for a whole year. Watch thousands of popular movies, TV episodes and award-winning Amazon originals. Plus, you'll get the free Air Sport Pack. For more on this amazing offer, call 1-800-500-300, go in store or visit air.ie. Air, let's make possible. Price for new customers, 12-month contract, subject to availability. Bundle activation fee may apply. For full details and terms, see air.ie/Prime Video.
Are you paying a fortune to light your warehouse? You could be saving up to 70% on your bills by switching to energy-efficient LEDs, all at no upfront cost to your business. Visit ecilighting.ie to find out more.
Love every step, especially the little ones. Like that Friday evening feeling when you kick off your shoes, feel the cosy carpet under your feet and know the weekend is in front of you.
When I see the pup excitedly slipping across the hardwood floor, welcoming me as I come through the front door.
Every Saturday morning, when I hear the girls' giggles as they're sprawled on the living room carpet watching TV. TC Matthews, love every step. Winter sale now on, with free underlay on selected carpets. T's and C's apply. Visit one of our 11 showrooms today.
What could be more magical than a relaxing winter break with your loved ones in the 5-star luxury surroundings of Dromoland Castle, County Clare? Voted one of the top 10 resorts in the world by Condé Nast readers, our Castle Awaits package includes bed and breakfast plus one dinner for 2 nights in a Queen Anne classic room from just €295 per person sharing. Your Castle Awaits. Book your winter break now at dromoland.ie.
Time to say goodbye.
It's time to say goodbye to diesel and say hello to a cleaner, brighter future for everyone. That's why in 2018, Toyota stopped producing diesel passenger cars. And today, Ireland's best-selling car is a Toyota hybrid. Say goodbye to diesel and start your electric journey in a Toyota hybrid today. Toyota, built for a better world.
The election campaign has been dominated by 2 shocking moments: the gangland murder of a child and the life-changing injuries suffered by a homeless man living in a tent. Our top team of writers spell out the consequences for our politicians and for our society. In Living, John McColgan and Moya Doherty talk about love and marriage, Michael Flatley, RTE and cancer. And in Life, Dr. Eva Orsmond takes issue with body positivity and offers healthy living advice for every stage of life. The Sunday Independent, the complete read.
Munster versus the Ospreys, live from Thomond Park.
On Off the Ball.
With Vodafone, official sponsors of the Irish rugby team. Team of us, everyone in.
And Conor Murray now breaking towards the left, and Conor Murray getting towards the line. Munster very close to the try line here now as they try to shove over. And the Ospreys looking to spoil it, and Munster are over, and it's a try for Munster finally. A lot of huffing and puffing so far, but they finally get over the line, and it's CJ Stander who comes away with the ball.
Yes, that was on 31 minutes at Thomond Park in our first live game of the afternoon. Munster lead at the break by 14 points to 6. Stander with that try on 31 minutes. Stephen Archer then with Munster's second right on the stroke of half time. They have been stuttering and not very fluent, Munster, but they are 14 points to 6 up against an Osprey side that, as you know, have struggled very badly all season. Meanwhile, bad weekend going to a much worse one for Saracens. Relegated from the Premiership yesterday. Half-time today at home to Racing. They trail by 17 points to 21. They started brilliantly. They had 2 tries before Racing had registered a score. Itoje and Vunipola with tries, but Racing have come right back into this game. Vakatawa with 2 tries of his own on 14 and 31 minutes. And just to make matters worse, Billy Vunipola went off, had to be substituted. Will Skelton came on and then promptly got himself sent off for a high shot, a shoulder to the face of the ball carrier. So at half-time, 14-man Saracens are on 17 points. Racing are on 21. We have another live game to bring you this afternoon. That will be Liverpool against Manchester United at Anfield from 4:30. Updates to come from Burnley Leicester at 2 o'clock. And then, of course, Croke Park will be the centre of attention as well between now and 7 o'clock. Maura Trasny-Callig is standing by. Good afternoon.
Hi Joe, I'm still on a high after last night, I have to say. That's not even before we focus on today. I mean, just seeing Tommy Walsh last night, wasn't it just magical?
I mean, I'm more excited about that one than any of his other All-Irelands.
Me too. It just meant so much to him. You could just see it oozing out of him and his family and everyone. It was... You would have to have a heart of stone to not have walked out of here last night with your cockles warmed, except maybe perhaps if you were from Father O'Neill's, which was, I was talking to former GA President Nicky Brennan afterwards, and he said it was a great way to win a game but a terrible way to lose. They must be devastated, but what a win for the Walshes and Tullaroan as a whole. It was just wonderful to watch.
Yeah, it's everything that's kind of good about the GA, really.
In a nutshell, and even like that 5-minute interview I got with Tommy afterwards, like the amount of people who were kind of reacting to it, and that's exactly what they said, Joe. You know, this is GA in a nutshell. This is what makes the GAA what it is.
So we're back again today. It's cold. We should
yes.
say how much it's cold. We have Ballyhale Shamrocks of Kilkenny against Borrisalee of Tipperary. First ever Kilkenny-Tipperary club final, which is quite something in 50 years of club hurling championship. So, look, this promises much. We've lots of big names on show. We have Shefflin going for his second in a row and really, you know, upping his credentials. They're looking for their 7th All-Ireland. And then we have Borrisalee and Brendan Maher to the fore.
Absolutely, and I'm just looking here now at Uachtarna here, and Michael D. Higgins is going down there now to do the whole dignitary parade here, and it's funny watching the two sides. The Ballyhale lads are doing a bit of jumping up and down. I don't know if it's the cold or the adrenaline, and the Borrisalee lads are just looking straight ahead, waiting to get this in. This is one, like you said, it promises a lot. Hopefully, though, I remember the last few years I've been here in club final day that promised a lot, and then they went petered out to a damp squib, but I can't see this one doing it, because when you look at it, you've got the Fennellys with Ballyhale, you've got TJ Reid, who's going to control him? You're going to to wonder, are Borriselli, are they going to sacrifice Brendan Maher to try and keep him curtailed, or are they going to try and let him wander a bit and do what Brendan Maher does best? They've got Dan McCormick, they've got Paddy Stapleton. They've both come through really hard semi-finals. Ballyhale more so because nobody expected Schlockneil, with all due respect to them, they're a great team, but people expected Ballyhale to be better than they were. I think that's because Schlockneil were better than we gave them credit for, but at the end of the day, they gave Ballyhale a scare that probably did them better to have that scare in Newry 2 weeks ago than here today in Croke Park.
Yeah, and if we're looking for cases for Borriselli, they've been very comfortable as underdogs this season. They were underdogs against Killadangan in the tip final, and then especially against Ballygunner, and they've come through.
Yeah, and it hasn't bothered them, and if anything, it's fortified them, and with every game they seem to be getting a bit stronger. When you see teams coming through campaigns and by the time they get to the final you're thinking, they're looking leggy, they've been really tired, like the way we've often said about like Mayo, say last summer or the summer before, with the amount of games they had to do. Even though they're a wonderful team, you could see that it was catching up with them. With Borriselli though, with every game they seem to get stronger and more fluid, and they play better hurling nearly. So it'll be really interesting to see now, will Ballyhale allow them that space today? And I think Croke Park, this is what everyone was saying would be the factor last night when we were here talking. I was talking to some Kilkenny people here last night. They said what they're hoping for is the fact that Ballyhale are used to playing in Croke Park. That might make the difference. It doesn't matter apparently how many All-Ireland medalists you have on your team, you need your whole team to be on game today, and just to get used to that Croke Park factor, which is a big psychological thing. And this is where anyone coming from Kilkenny here today is expecting, if they're going to win, it's because Ballyhale are just more used to it.
That's at 2. That's getting underway very shortly, as you said. The president on the pitch going through the formalities. And then at 4 o'clock, a tale of two cities. We have Currafin of Galway and we have Kilcoo of Down. Currafin, the juggernaut continues. They are a joy to watch. They're looking for their 3rd All-Ireland in a row, their 4th title in 6 years. Kilcoo from Down looking for their first in 114 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the one where I think even people from Galway wouldn't mind too much if Kilcoo won today, because their story has been wonderful. At the same time, there is a debate. Even if Kilcoo managed to slay Goliath today, there's still a debate. Currafin, are we still going to say they're the best club team we've ever seen in football? And I'd say we probably will have to say. If Kilcoo are to have any hope at all, they need to make sure that Conor Laverty, or Wee Lav as they call him up there, is able to go and run, do what he does best, starting in between. But at the same time, that means Kieran Fitzgerald, for example, in the fullback line, he's nearing 40 years old and he's still an amazing fullback for Currafin. If any team is going to trouble Currafin, it's going to be Kilcoo, because of the way I've watched them all season long. They're able to grind teams down. They are so patient. They will hold and hold and hold, and then they've got Conor Laverty with the speed and I suppose the inter-county experience as well. And he's also still currently coaching them on an inter-county team. He's got all that experience. If there's a hole, he's going to find it and dart through it. So the only way Kilcoo are going to win this, if they manage to keep the head and the patience. That's going to be the big factor. Currafin though, on course to do 3 in a row. If they do, they'll be the first team ever to do it, and at the moment you'd be a fool to bet against them. But club final day, things can surprise us.
Okay, hopefully a great afternoon in store. More Trasny Callig, thanks very much.
Thanks, Joe.
Let's get back over to Thomond Park. We have Fiona Steed, Bernard Jackman and Neil Treacy.
Thanks, Joe. Teams just back out onto the pitch for the start of the second half. The Munster players just walking out in front of us at the moment, leading here by 14 points to 6. The 2 tries coming in the final 10 minutes of the opening half. CJ Standard with the first, and then Stephen Archer, just his 4th ever try for Munster in more than 200 games, right on the stroke of half time. Both converted by JJ Hanrahan, giving Munster an 8-point advantage heading into this second half, and they'll be playing this second half into the Ballinanty end with the benefit of that very, very low and very, very bright sun at their backs this time. It caused them a lot of problems in the opening half, and I can see all the Ospreys players looking in the direction of JJ Hanrahan, who's about to kick off, eyes over the forehead, trying to shield that sun. And an opportunity, guys, for Conor Murray maybe to throw a few box kicks right up into the air. You mentioned in the first half the box kicks were probably a little bit too deep.
Certainly, now is the time to be using it, with a really good aggressive chase from Goggin and that down into that right hand corner, because I think they will struggle with it. You can see them, as you've said, hands up looking to see, to block out the sun, and it's just going to come a little bit further around, I'd say, as the half continues. And
JJ Hanrahan sends this kick off deep down into the 22, and it's taken and cleared by Luke Price, but staying in field into the hands of Conor Murray, 10 metres inside the Ospreys half of the pitch, and he puts it straight into the hands of Mike Haley, who makes a half little break and gets it out towards Jack O'Donoghue, charges up towards 5 metres from the try line, eventually brought to ground 5 metres out. Munster centre of the pitch. What an opportunity this is early in the second half, but it's turned over, it's coughed off. It's going to be an Ospreys penalty. Jack O'Donoghue holding on after he was tackled, and it looks like Sean Venter has brought him to ground brilliantly in the end, forced that turnover. almost a great start to the second half for Munster.
Yeah, brilliant by Haley. He really, Fiona mentioned the first half he was a little bit hesitant, looking for the space, but that time he just pinned the ears back and went for it and got an offload to Jack O'Donoghue. And Jack O'Donoghue made a great break. He looked so quick, so athletic. He's banging form. Unfortunately for him, he ran away from his own supporter. His support didn't keep up with him, and Alan Wynne Jones got in over the ball, and it was a key turnover, but very sharp from Munster and from O'Donoghue.
And Kai Evans it is now who clears that penalty and brings possession just outside the Ospreys 22 on our near side of the pitch. Scott Otten to throw in, and as we see the replay there in front of us, Jack O'Donoghue just holding on at the last minute. Munster ping though at this line out, trying to close the gap. It's going to be a free kick for the Ospreys and a chance for them to send the ball a little bit further up the field if they want, although they'd be handing possession over to Munster if they do so.
Yeah, there has been a lot of issues at the line of time in terms of closing the gap, and you'd imagine that the referee team at half time just said, look, we need to lay down the law here, and Munster unfortunately were the first team to be pinged for not respecting the gap at the front of the line out.
And with the free kick, Kai Evans decides to just hoof one straight up into the air, and in the end it was taken very, very well by Mike Haley right on the halfway line, and Munster get the ball back into their hands. Conor Murray sending it out left now. One for J.J. Hanrahan to chip up into the air to chase, and in the end it was collected very, very well and held on by the Ospreys. 10 metres inside their own half on the far side of the pitch. Luke Price stepping in at scrum half and gives it to Dan Lydiot, and it's going to be an Ospreys penalty. Munster offside.
Yeah, that's disappointing again. That's I suppose a couple of penalties in the opening couple of minutes, and then the free kick at the line out. So it's again, the pace at which Jack O'Donoghue took the ball on, absolutely fantastic. But then you have to have the cool mind when it comes around the contact area and giving away the penalties. Like Reynal, the ref, has he's been proven to be quite a stickler. Scrums, line outs, he's not going to let it go. So any sort of infringement, he's going to blow for it. So you need to play that. And Ospreys were very, very aggressive with the line speed, as we said, in the first half, and Munster getting pinged there for being offside.
And we are just going to have a little break in play. One of the Ospreys players down injured at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's Tipperick, which should be a big blow to the Ospreys. He's been really busy.
It's Dan Lydiot, actually. I can see is on the ground now. We have the screens in front of us.
He's had a lot of injury problems, unfortunately. He's been a phenomenal player, but over the last 2 years, injuries have taken a huge toll on him, and he hasn't really got a run of form. So hopefully this isn't nothing too serious. It's going to keep him out for a while.
He's had to be a real team player at times this season as well, with so many players away for the Ospreys at the start of the campaign at the World Cup. Even had to fill in as a second row at times at the start of the season.
Yeah, they've had an unbelievable injury crisis. They've obviously had to cut their squad because of budget cuts, and then they kept their main international players. They made a huge effort financially to keep the likes of Alan Wynne Jones and Scott Williams, etc. But left them shy, and then they had a massive injury crisis, and only had one fit second row for 2 or 3 rounds of the Pro 14, which meant Lydiot had to fill in there. It was really a nightmare situation for Alan Clark.
I think no back row really. When you think of a back row, no back row wants to play in the second row either. So fair play to him for getting stuck in there. I think for the likes of Wycherley and O'Donoghue, and when you're coming through, it was a bit like Donegal O'Callaghan. Played in the back row. Maybe he thought he might have been, but he wasn't. But you'll do it when you're coming through. But when you're experienced, it's quite hard to actually then go right. Do I have to go in there?
Yeah, and the reason I thought it was Tipperick, and the reason I couldn't see Tipperick is he's actually gone off. Ollie Cracklin's on. Ollie
Cracklin has come on, number 20, in place of Justin Tipperick, who we saw sitting down there wrapped up on the sidelines. Came off right at the start of the second half, but the Ospreys eventually clear that penalty 10 metres inside the Munster half, and they step back inside, and it's George North who has possession, but Luke Price now sends it out towards the left. The Ospreys just inside the Munster half of the pitch. Venture now out to Bradley Davis. CJ Stander with the tackle, stopping the Ospreys behind the gain line. And again, still centre of the pitch, Luke Price just holds on to a little bit too long, and in the end manages to offload. And Price now to George North, but Peter O'Mahony stops him and just prevents him from getting the offload out the back door. But the Ospreys gaining a couple of yards, edging their way up towards the 10-metre line, still right bang in this centre of the pitch. Munster leading by 14 points to 6 early in the second half. It's a lovely little chip through from Luke Price, and if the bounce just went the way of Luke Morgan, it doesn't in the end though, and it just goes out of play, and it's going to be a Munster line out. around 6-7 metres inside their own half on this near touchline.
In Ospreys, when they have the ball, they tend to send a couple of the runners into space, and whether they get the ball or not, they're very good at sending alternate runners in so that there's options there for the main ball carrier. So, and it causes a little bit of, I suppose, that in defence they're not quite sure.
And that's a very, very good take in the end for Munster, but it was a crooked line out. It was actually crooked in the direction of the Ospreys, I think.
Yeah, it was.
Munster might even feel a bit aggrieved. I mean, there was no advantage to be got from there.
No advantage. They went to the back, obviously a little bit of a breeze. Scanlon threw it really hard and direct, but unfortunately just drifted across down the Ospreys side, and the referee picked it up, and Tipper's actually back on for Cracknell, so that must have been a
HIA. Yeah, and a short-lived HIA, so Justin Tipper is back on. Ollie Cracknell gone back towards the bench. And Dan Lydia, we should point out, was able to get back up onto his feet and continue on with this game, packing down just in front of us on the blind side of this scrum, which the Ospreys have 10 metres inside the Munster half, 15 in from the touchline after that crooked throw from Niall Scannell, and Dan Baker breaks and puts it into the hands of George North, who shrugs off the tackle of Rory Scannell very, very well and gains a couple of extra yards on the ground. And Dan Baker now, and the pass is skipped out towards that far side, towards Hanno Dirksen. And it's a penalty for Munster. It's a very, very good turnover. The Ospreys holding on, and Munster have managed to turn that one over, and they're going to have a chance to clear their lines just outside their own 22, just in from that far side of the pitch. Good turnover for Munster.
Yeah, Calvin Nash did really, really well there to make the tackle and then secure the turnover as well. So that's good to see. That Ospreys have had a little bit of possession now in the opening stages of this half, but Munster now back into the Ospreys half.
45 minutes played at Thomond Park, and it remains Munster 14, Ospreys 6. As we watch that, Hanno Dirksen taking up the ball, tackled by Mike Haley, and it was Calvin Nash, who hasn't been able to touch the ball too much in this game on his European debut, but he gets the pats on the back from his teammates for winning that penalty, as it's cleared 10 metres inside the Ospreys half. Munster in possession now off the line out. Finian Wycherley takes from Niall Scannell as they look to set up a maul. Conor Murray comes in to get it now and looks to just break, and in the end puts a chip through, and it's taken well by Calvin Nash. Some sloppery possession, but Munster retain it now just inside the Ospreys 22, 15 in from that far touchline. Dave Kilcoyne now passes it back inside to Finian Wycherley, and Murray in possession out towards Hanrahan, and Hanrahan plays it back inside, and Rory Scannell jinks his way back infield into the centre of this pitch, and Munster now 10 out from the try line. Hanrahan dummies towards the left and goes himself and brings it up to within 5 of the line. Big chance here now for Munster if they can keep their composure. Murray looks to the left and right and puts it into the hands of Sammy Arnold as they get towards the try line, and Conor Murray dives himself, and Conor Murray is over, and that's a third try of the afternoon for Munster, and a bit of daylight between the sides now. After a slow start of the second half, Munster finally get the sides moving and eventually working from the left side of the pitch towards the right. Conor Murray just breaking from the side of the ruck for his 10th try in his 58th Heineken Champions Cup game. With a conversion to come, it's Munster lead by 19 points to 6.
Yeah, I think it's fitting it was Conor Murray who got it down in the end, because he's the one who started a little pre-planned move to go down the blind side of the line-out maul, and Conor Murray tried a little chip over the top, ricocheted back into Munster hands, and from that you just saw some really good carries from even JJ. Was very strong contact and got over, and they worked all the way across. Really good clean-outs, really quick ball, and eventually Ospreys ran out of numbers on the blind side, and Conor Murray spotted that straight away, put it down. So big score for Munster. Just start the second half with a positive try at that and really separate the scoreline.
JJ Hanrahan 2 out of 2 so far off the tee this afternoon, but this certainly the most difficult of the lot. The previous 2 were relatively straight in front of the post. This one though, just around 3 metres in from the near touchline. He would have slotted one from pretty much right in this spot to draw Munster level in that draw against Racing 92 back in November. Hanrahan, who's himself edging his way up towards 100 European points for Munster, came into this game on 84. Well, this one drifts to the right and wide, never really on target, never a clean strike. But with 48 minutes played, that Conor Murray try puts Munster into a 13-point lead, 19 points to 6.
Yeah, and it's certainly the start of the second half now that they would have wanted, and again the pace with which they're playing with, really, really good from Munster, and that they're able to, I suppose, do the power game as well, in facets anyway.
And it's that moment of the game that the sun is just creeping up and starting to get into our faces, even up here in the commentary box. Fiona Steed has the sunglasses on.
In January, if anyone saw me.
Yeah, we're just looking at the touch judge flag here. Munster playing with a big wind in the second half. It seems to have picked up a lot.
It certainly picked up, yeah.
I'm just worried about the Ospreys' spirit now. Have they broken? I mean, they were so slow to get around the corner there to fill a space that Connor eventually put it down in, and their heads were dropped underneath the post. And when you're having lost 1 out of 15, it's only natural the confidence will be pretty low.
Ospreys' line-out certainly looked a little bit crooked, but we are going to play on. They retain possession, and Sean Venter sends the drop kick, or the box kick, right up into the air, and that's a brilliant take by Dan Goggin, it has to be said. Cruising up into the sky to collect that. And Peter O'Mahony now being helped by his forwards as they try to get up towards the halfway line, 15 in from this near touchline, and again Conor Murray breaks towards the right, but he's stopped well by Scott Otten. And CJ Stander and Billy Holland. Stander actually goes a scrum half and puts it out to Wycherley, and Wycherley's tackled by Tipperick, who holds Wycherley up quite well, but in the end Munster bring it to ground. And this is some slow ball, but it looks like Munster have it, just trying to clear the bodies out of the way. Dan Baker, the Ospreys, one of them, and it looks like Murray is just going to bring this back and try to send a kick. He feigns to kick and actually sends it out towards JJ Hanrahan, who drops a little grubber down in towards the 22, and if it bounces right this could go out, but ultimately no, it just stops inside in the in goal area, and it goes out over the line, and it's going to be a scrum all the way back.
Yeah, it's a pity, because Bernard and I were up here both pointing down at the the right hand corner where Hannah Dirksen was, or Luke Morgan was standing with his hands up trying to shield the sun from his eyes, and certainly it looked to us like that's where it should have gone down.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example where the thought process was right. So they dummied to the box kick as such. Connor was building the length in the ruck. Ospreys started to shift across in the backfield to protect this side, and at the last minute they just overrode it and got the ball into JJ's hands, and the space was on. He found grass, unfortunately just went too far, and the momentum is now back with Ospreys because you go back right into the Munster half for the scrum.
Well, it's going to be worth keeping an eye on Conor Murray over the next few minutes. The replay in front of us there to see if Craig Casey is going to warm up Conor Murray. He took a strong enough belt of a leg, I think from one of his own teammates, right into the head. And he's up. He didn't stay down for long, but interesting to see if Munster will have another look at that themselves and opt for a HIA. John Ryan is down on the touchline in front of us, getting ready to come in as George North breaks and heads towards the 22 on that far side of the pitch. Ospreys in possession now, and Dan Baker is stopped well, and certainly that wind beginning to pick up in the second half. And Bradley Davies, a short carry. Ospreys drifting back towards left into the centre of the pitch, and Luke Price finds Tipperick, and again they go towards the left. Dan Evans now, and Dan Evans gets them up towards the 22, and a big clear out over the Munster Jackal, and Scott Otten now, but this is good Munster defence, just sending them back a couple of yards from Stephen Archer. And Venter now out to Mafu Fia, tight head prop, who's actually had the most offloads of any player in the Ospreys team so far in this competition.
That says enough.
And that's a loose pass from the Ospreys, and Dan Evans has to scamper back and get it, but does well to offload it towards Justin Tipperick, who moves back towards the centre of the pitch, and in over the top of that is a Munster player, and it looks like, have they managed to turn it over? They have. That's a Munster penalty, and that's brilliant work from either CJ Stander or Peter O'Mahony. It's one of them. Both of them got in over the ball, and it's a Munster penalty and a chance to clear the lines just inside their own half, centre of the pitch.
And I think was it Wycherley that made the tackle in the first instance? It was, and then the
Stander,
the two lads,
CJ
in and latching on. But I think Wycherley has been putting himself about. He's made a couple of good tackles in the last few minutes as well, and really aggressive in terms of defence, which is great.
Yeah, Munster's defence has been pretty solid, hasn't it? It's just been a couple of moments of indiscipline that's given the Ospreys those two kickable penalties that's given them the score, but Ospreys haven't really looked like scoring bar that little intercept moment from Luke Price early in the first half, and I just love to see Munster push on now, get the bonus point quickly, and get the likes of Craig Casey on, and give them real. I know they got a couple of minutes last week in Europe, but I'd love to see them get 20, 25, 30 minutes in a European game like this to really bed in and develop some experience.
Yeah, and I think Ben Healy as well. It'd be great to see him getting his European debut. He is, both of those lads, I suppose we saw them a lot last year down in Cork for the 20s, and they are the future for for Munster rugby and potentially for Irish rugby as well, and great to give them the experiences in this situation.
53 minutes played here at Thomond Park. Munster leading the Ospreys by 19 points to 6. You're listening to Off the Ball. Fiona, Steed and Bernard Jackman alongside me, Neil Treacy, here at Thomond Park, where Munster taking on the Ospreys in Pool 4 of the Heineken Champions Cup. Coming up later on, we will be over to Anfield, where Liverpool are taking on Manchester United in the Premier League, and we'll also give you an update in a little while from Croke Park in the first of the All-Ireland Club finals, the opening game of the day between Ballyhale Shamrocks of Kilkenny and Borrisoleigh, the Tipperary champions, underway at the moment. We'll be over to Moratrasa soon enough. But that penalty for Munster cleared down in towards the Ospreys 22 on that far touchline, just outside the 22. Niall Scannell preparing to throw, and he finds CJ Stander up at the front, and it's Rory Scannell with a hard line, bring possession in towards the 22, and again Stander with another short burst, and gaining a couple more yards on the ground. Conor Murray now calling for Dave Kilcoyne just to come in a little bit tighter, and it's Kilcoyne who's taken that one on. Again Murray directing traffic, sending it out to Niall Scannell now. Munster at 10 metres from the Ospreys line, right in the centre of this pitch. Murray has options to the left and right, goes towards the left, skips his forwards out towards Hanrahan, and Sam Arnold tries to skip inside, but he's tackled well by the Ospreys defence. Again Munster still 10 metres from the line in this centre third of the pitch. Penalty advantage coming their way if they want to take a chance, something they tried earlier on and almost got in over the line with it after that great play from Dan Goggin. JJ Hanrahan now out over on that far touchline, tries to drift inside, and he's stopped 5 short of the try line. Advantage still being played for Munster as Murray looks towards his pot of forwards on the right. John Ryan, one of them as well, who gets in over Dave Kilcoyne. John Ryan coming on in the last couple of minutes in place of Stephen Archer. Another penalty advantage coming Munster's way. The Ospreys not rolling away. CJ Stander pulling a couple of Ospreys out of that ruck, and Murray going towards the right and skips it outside to Sammy Arnold and into the hands of Rory Scannell, and the try is awarded for Munster. And the Ospreys defence just switching off. Munster shifting play back out over onto that open side. Sammy Arnold with the half break and popping it out into the hands of Rory Scannell, who runs in under the post, and Munster have their bonus point try. They lead by 24 points to 6.
Yeah, Sammy Arnold's come in obviously as a late replacement for Chris Farrell, but he's really taken his opportunity, and he could have nearly scored himself there, but he was unselfish to offload it to Rory Scannell. But I think the key player in that phase of play, and those phases of play, was Murray, and even that pass from Murray to
I'm going to have to interrupt you, Bernard. We've just seen a replay here of Rory Scannell touching down, and we might be going up to a TMO on this one, because it looks like the ball was just slipping out of Rory Scannell's hands. We might have to have a look at no try is the decision straight away. Only a quick look, but we are going to come back for that penalty, Munster. It's still 19-6. That try for Rory Scannell chalked off. He's going to be very disappointed with that, failing to touch down. I know there was a player coming in to tackle him at the last second, but you have to be finishing that. Yeah. It was essentially unopposed.
Yeah, I'd be very disappointed with that. But the pass from Murray to Arnold, he skipped across 4 players, got him on the front foot on his outside hand, and that put him through the hole. But you can see the Ospreys defence, their energy has dropped off massively, and there's space either side of the ruck. And in fairness to Murray, over the last 10 minutes he started to pick off those holes and putting people into space.
Yeah, and interesting as well the way Munster are playing, off the line out. It was obvious from where we are here that JJ was sat back in the pocket, so it was going to go straight to Scannell to take it up in the first bit, and you can see JJ, organising things, not waiting for when he's going to come in to pull the trigger from a back's point of view to swing the ball back round. So, certainly really nice facets of play. Would have been better, of course, if we'd managed to finish it off there.
Craig Casey is stripped off and ready to come in for Munster as well. It looks like he's going to get more than 20 minutes on the pitch this afternoon, as a couple of Ospreys players make way, and one of them looking in serious pain. Dan Evans is the one who's gone off clutching his arm, and also off at the moment is Mafufia with Georgi Gajan, the Moldovan beast from the east they call him, on in his place at tight head prop. But also on is Sam Cross in place of Dan Evans. Munster line out 5 metres from the try line after that penalty. On that far side of the pitch, Niall Scannell to throw in, and it's taken in by Stander. And Munster looking to set up a maul. But the Ospreys do well to hold it up, and Conor Murray is going to look to break from this, and he sends it out towards Rory Scannell, who's standing at first receiver, and Scannell manages to shake off a couple of tackles and bring possession within 2-3 metres of the line. Murray again gets it outside to JJ Hanrahan. Hanrahan mobbed though by a couple of Ospreys defenders, and now CJ Stander with a short carry. Murray speeding things up here, out to Mike Haley, and Mike Haley's over the line. Has he been able to touch it down though? Matthew Reynal looks at it, held up is the call, and we're going to come back for a Munster scrum 5 metres out. But Munster starting to speed things up a little bit close to the Ospreys line.
Yeah, just one pass plays, people coming onto the ball at pace, and they're punching holes, and probably they had a 2v1 there. Haley backed himself to get over, unfortunately for him, and luckily for the Ospreys it was good defence and they held them up. But you'd imagine Munster, they've got a scrum 5 yards out. They're going to turn this possession now in territory into 5 points at least.
And that's Conor Murray's afternoon over. On comes Craig Casey for his second European appearance, having come off the bench last week in Paris as well, and just his 5th senior game for Munster. Craig Casey would have started with the under-20s last year. Bernard, though, overall I've sensed you've been fairly impressed with Conor Murray today.
That's I've seen Conor play this year. He looked real sharp. There was a busyness about him, a liveness about him around the fringes. Got the ball away quickly, and his passing was very accurate. A couple of kicks didn't go as well as he would have liked, but I just thought he was at a different level than he's been so far.
And Fiona, this is a good opportunity for someone like Craig Casey now. Obviously, down through the last few years, Munster would have replaced Conor Murray late on in games.
Yeah.
But you're at a stage now, there's still 22 and a half minutes to go here, and a nice opportunity for Casey where there isn't a huge amount of pressure to go out there and just kind of go out and enjoy his game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think last year he would have been in the academy, we would have known about him. Obviously then the Six Nations under 20s, he was catapulted into one to watch, and he's certainly taken every opportunity to date.
And that scrum moving well and drifting towards the try line, and Munster have options out on the blind side, and Craig Casey dummies right, and Craig Casey with his first touch of the game has dived in over the try line. What a start for Craig Casey. What a day for the young man on his first Heineken Champions Cup appearance at Thomond Park. A local boy as well, a Shannon clubman, and he gets over for Munster's 4th try of the game. The bonus point is secured, and they lead now by 24 points to 6.
Do you know what? There's still room for small lads in rugby, isn't there? It's just fantastic to see a little jink, a little dummy, and in he goes. Feigns to go left, the scrum kept going on, and then goes to go right, and in under, and he won't be happier than that for a long, long time. That's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Good things come to fellas who deserve it. I mean, it looked easy, but actually he showed real patience at the back. The easy thing to do was to get it away out to his 10 and ease his way into the game. But he felt the scrum was going forward. He trusted CJ to keep it on his right foot, and he had the wherewithal just to throw a little dummy and step off his right foot and score. And he is a constant threat around the breakdown. Probably Conor is obviously very consistent in his passing, very good kicking game, but Casey's like a little terrier at the back of the pack, and he keeps back rows honest, and there's a great example of it.
And a lovely dummy from Casey, sending down ladies for his shots. JJ Hanrahan makes no mistake with the conversion, bringing him up to 90 points in this competition for Munster.
And I think Jack O'Sullivan looking to come on again now, so there is a bright future when you see the likes of Jack O'Sullivan, Craig Casey coming on to meet the two compatriots that are out there already. And I think this game hopefully is in the bag now, and we can push on and give experiences to all these.
Yeah, and Jack O'Sullivan on in the last few moments now for Peter O'Mahony, who's gone off the pitch. And a big ovation for Peter O'Mahony as he takes a long jog across this touchline. Standing ovation, in fact, for Peter O'Mahony. from the 19,891 Munster fans here this afternoon. We're back underway here though as we hit the hour mark at Thomond Park. Finian Wycherley taking that kick off 10 metres inside the Munster half, but the Ospreys do well to smother him, and they've turned over the ball, and it's going to be an Osprey scrum 12 metres inside the Munster half.
Yeah, and that's a pity now. And again, it was such a good take. Wycherley, was supported really, really well in the air, but then the fight to bring the ball back on their side, and they didn't manage it. I think it actually got dropped. So it's important now with the changes and without O'Mahony on and without Conor Murray that they maintain their composure and push on. It's not enough to keep it as it is now. You really need to keep Ospreys out and to push on. Just
with the injuries to the Ospreys' backs, they've actually put Tipperick now at centre, so you see it from the scrum. Well, we're not going to see it, but he's out inside centre, playing number 12 inside George North.
Munster scrum is the call, or Munster free kick is the call now. The Ospreys just pushing early, and JJ Hanrahan just tried to float that one over the top, but it's kept in play by the Ospreys. And a lovely break there by Luke Morgan brings the Ospreys up towards the halfway line. Venter now, and it looks like Craig Casey is down on his hands and knees inside the Ospreys half of the pitch. He is back up though. Tells the medics to go away. Give him his attention in a few minutes time when the ball goes dead. With the Ospreys in possession inside their own half now, working their way back in towards the centre of the pitch. Venter sends it out the blind side. And the Ospreys now coming back left again. Through Scott Otten, their hooker. And Venter is going to send a box kick up again. Not too much depth on it, but he does get a lot of height, and it bounces short of everyone, and it's scrappy possession. No knock on, says Matthew Raynell. The Ospreys retaining possession right on the halfway line, and Otten drifting back in field towards the halfway line. Luke Price now, George North, and that's a poor pass, but it's kept in play very well by Luke Morgan, having to swivel his hips and just stick his arm out and keep possession. And Alan Wynne Jones now. The Ospreys have gone backwards about 10 or 15 metres in the last few phases. They're about 15 back from the halfway line, 20 in from the touchline, and Sean Venter has sent a box kick up, and straight away he's felt a bit of cramp, and he's trying to stretch out that leg when Munster retain possession on the halfway line. Casey sends it out towards the left, and a big carry from Dave Kilcoyne brings them into the Ospreys half. Again, Munster go left. Hanrahan now just puts a bit of uncertainty into the Ospreys defence, and they bring it 10 metres inside the Ospreys half. Stander now with another carry as Casey goes towards the right and into the hands of Niall Scannell. Niall Scannell tackled to the ground. Again they move towards the right. Rory Scannell out towards Dan Goggin, and it's Sammy Arnold. And Munster edging their way towards the 22, and Casey and Calvin Nash just took his eyes off the ball. Backwards is the call from Matthew Raynell, so Munster lucky to keep possession. Casey trying to fish that one out, and he's got Goggin outside him, and Goggin slips it out towards Jack O'Donoghue on the blind side, and Jack O'Donoghue skips in, and does Jack O'Donoghue have the legs to go all the way? He tries to kick it through, and in the end I think it's dotted down by one of the Ospreys players.
24.
And we're going to come all the way back here. That was a lovely bit of play by Jack O'Donoghue, drifting inside. He was found by Dan Goggin on the overlap, and in the end he managed to skip inside one tackle, didn't have the pace to go all the way, tried the pass backwards. It was batted back towards the try line by Luke Morgan, and we're just going to check and see with the TMO to see who got the final touch on that ball as across the try line. It looked like it was one of the Ospreys players, although if Luke Price even got his hands on the ball, he didn't get it touched down. What he did get, he just kind of bundled it out of play accidentally, but the net result is going to be a Munster scrum 5 metres out from the try line.
And really good from O'Donoghue. If he'd seen the sport was on his inside, or he could have possibly held on to the ball, but again it's back to what we've been saying all game. They're trying to play this offloading expansive game, and sometimes it comes off and it looks absolutely fabulous, and there we still we're on a 5 metre scrum now, so there's nothing lost in it. And they're playing this tempo, they're trying to play this offloading high tempo game, so you have to again I suppose trust the process and the system.
Munster scrum 5 metres out, around 25 metres in from this near touchline, as they make another change, and Ben Healy comes on for his European debut. The young man, a lot of people thought he might have been making it onto the bench last week in Paris when JJ Hanrahan was doubtful, but he's had to wait until this afternoon.
And JJ's still on, so does he come on for Mike Haley maybe?
Yeah, he's on for Haley.
Mike Haley is the one who's come off. Mike Haley would have been hoping to be involved in Andy Farrell's Six Nations squad, but didn't quite make the cut. He had been part of the stock take just before Christmas, but he's gone off now to be replaced by Ben Healy as Munster just lose a couple of yards there. We'll go over to Croke Park in a couple of moments' time for the half-time in the All-Ireland Club Hurling final, but we'll just wait for Munster here to go through a couple more phases. They are just 5 metres out from the Ospreys line. A few short pick and goes. This one by John Ryan. John Ryan now has stopped 5 metres out, centre of the pitch and into the hands of CJ Stander, and again Munster just slowly try to work their way up towards the try line, and Craig Casey now decides to send this one out towards his backs. Munster moving from right to left, midway between the posts and the far touchline, and Casey decides to go back towards the right. This time now, I see Mike Haley is actually still out there. He's just standing in. Munster again, short carries, and John Ryan just tries to find a little gap, but it's not there. It's just got a little bit quiet here with Munster's bonus point secured. The atmosphere just drawing a little bit flat. 15 minutes left here at Thomond Park, and it's Munster lead the Ospreys by 26 points to 6. And Munster just tried to work their way over towards this blind side on that far side of the pitch. And Dan Goggin now with a hard carry and still keeping it in field, and it's Mike Haley out to Sam Arnold, and Sam Arnold is hit well by Georgie Gajon, and Haley now, he's in at scrum half, and I think it's Craig Casey unfortunately whose afternoon had to be cut short a little bit early. Mike Haley is actually in at scrum half at the moment, and that's a beautiful skip pass out towards Ben Healy, who's come out onto the wing, and that's a beautiful pass out the back door to Dan Goggin, and Dan Goggin is just knocked out of play. And we will just take this moment very quickly to go over to Croke Park in the All-Ireland Club Hurling final between Ballyhale Shamrocks and Borrisoleigh. Maura Trasney-Callig.
Yeah, Ballyhale Shamrocks are ahead, Neil. Ballyhale 10, Borrisoleigh 6. Ballyhale, they were quite subdued at the start, but they're certainly much awake now. They didn't start well, but the trouble is Borrisoleigh haven't capitalised on it. We've already seen their full forward, Jerry Kelly. He launched a massive point from under the Cusack stand. He's in the zone. All the Borrisoleigh scores in the first 15 minutes came from him, but yet they've done all the playing, and yet Ballyhale are there where it matters. The scoreboards, thanks, I suppose, to TJ Reid's free taking. But from a Boris point of view, I'd rather TJ take a free rather than Adrian Mullen bear down in goal, and that's kind of what's happened a few times. But the rest of the team need to find Kelly's zone, or Ballyhale probably will retain that title. It's half time here now. We're watching the Minis play a game, and you just know the two sides are from Tipperary and Kilkenny here. I'm after watching a poor child take a massive hit and had to be helped off at half time, so hopefully that little boy's okay. They're playing away down here at half time. It is Ballyhale Shamrocks 10 points, Borrisoleigh 6.
Thanks, Maura Trassa. Well, back here at Thomond Park, Ben Healy has just come back off. He was only on temporarily. Conor Murray is at to come on, and it looks like Craig Casey, unfortunately, is finished for the day. Disappointing.
Yeah,
the knock he got, I think
he tried to tackle Luke Morgan. He got his head on the wrong side, and he never recovered from that. So he made an impact in his brief appearance, but we won't get to see any more of him this afternoon.
And penalty for Munster 5 metres out. We mentioned Ben Healy there and short cameo appearances. He made a big impact there. That lovely pass just out the backside towards Dan Goggin. In the end, it was a good defence from Ospreys to bundle them out into touch.
Yeah, he's very comfortable with ball in hand, really good skill set, and we've seen him do similar for the Ireland 20s in the World Cup last year with lovely, out the back door pass as well. So it's great to see, young lads coming through with that level of skill and ambition.
A few more Munster changes have been made as well. Jeremy Lockman is on, as is Arno Botha, as Munster take that line out, and CJ Standard tries to drive his way back in field towards the try line. Conor Murray eyeing things up and going back towards the left into the hands of Niall Scannell, and they're just under that right near post pad, but they've coughed up possession, and George North has it now, and he sends it out towards the wing, and it's fly hacked up the pitch, and it's gone out of play just inside the Ospreys half of the pitch on that far touchline. Sloppy play for Munster as they try to get towards the try line.
Yeah, it's a pity now that they coughed that up, but in fairness, I think there was 3 or 4 changes on and off there in the last 2 minutes. The thing about the Ospreys, though, you have somebody like George North, and we've mentioned him about 3 times. He hasn't had the ball. Ospreys haven't really had much possession. I don't know what the possession stats are there, but that Munster, I suppose, haven't had to defend really in this second half, apart from the first 5 minutes when they were down inside their own 22.
Yeah, from a Six Nations point of view, the reason George North is playing 13 is because of injuries at 13 for Wales, and they wanted Josh Adams to play 13 for Cardiff Blues this weekend, and George to play 13 for the Ospreys with a view to testing him out for the Six Nations. But as you said, he's got no ball in hand, but he's defended quite well.
Kevin O'Byrne on for Munster at hooker in place of Niall Scannell, and the first thing he's going to do is throw into this line out and into the hands of CJ Stander, back to Conor Murray, and they move into the centre of the field now. But there's a hard carry by Sam Arnold up towards the halfway line. And Ospreys slowing that down, and they've managed to turn it over brilliantly by Justin Tipperick, I think it was Fiona was saying, and that pass, that offload from the Ospreys has just gone forward, and it's going to be a Munster advantage. It's going to be a Munster scrum. For those interested, by the way, over at Allianz Park, now 24 points apiece between the Saracens and Racing 92. A second try of the afternoon for Maro Itoje. They have 3 tries to Racing's 3. Owen Farrell has kicked 3 conversions and a penalty as well. Remember, though, Racing down to 14 players. Will Skelton sent off just before the half-time whistle, given a red card for a dangerous tackle. As things stand, a draw wouldn't be enough for Saracens to go through as a best runner-up into the quarter-finals of this competition. They would finish this competition level on points with Munster on 16 points apiece, but they would be ahead of Munster on the head-to-head record. But crucially for them, they would be a point behind Glasgow in the head-to-head record. And if Mike Haley we see coming back off, and Ben Healy is going to be given his chance once again. A short-lived first run-around for Ben Healy at Thomond Park in the Champions Cup, but he has managed to get back on properly for these last 12 minutes. For Munster lead the Ospreys by 26 points to 6. 4 tries for Munster this afternoon.
And I think coming on at full back, it's a different, I suppose it's a different level of pressure, and it gives him a chance to, play himself into the game a little bit more than at 10. As we know, it's sort of pivotal, and like JJ's been doing so well there, and it's there's a bit more, I suppose, comfort to come on at full back, especially this half with the the amount of possession that Munster have had, and the fact that the sun will be at his back. So hopefully he'll have a good experience there.
Well, I can see young Craig Casey standing down in front of us on the touchline. He has the jacket on. As Munster break towards the right, Murray out to JJ Hanrahan, and Dan Goggin now out on this wing. Dan Goggin tries a little grubber through, but it's taken by the Ospreys defence 10 metres out from the try line, just in from this near touchline. And the Ospreys do well to retain possession. That's scrum half now. Reuben Morgan Williams puts it outside, but driven backwards towards 5 metres from their own try line. Morgan Williams again now. Back towards Luke Price, who sends his kick out of play. One of the Munster medics tried to control it on the volley and ended up just kicking it back into his own face. And Munster with a very quick line out. But we're just going to come back and reset that. Not the finest moment for one of that Munster backroom team. Just tried to catch it on the volley, and in the end just kicked it back up into his own face.
Yeah, but you could see the mentality of Munster. They wanted to get that ball back into play. Straight away they got a pot of 3 up and just fired it in, but unfortunately we're even too quick for the referee, and he made him reset it.
70 minutes played here at Thomond Park as Kevin O'Byrne finds Jack O'Donoghue, and Munster try to skip that out towards the far touchline to Calvin Nash, who has a bit of space to work with and chips it over the top. And Calvin Nash, can the bounce work well for him? It almost does, and he just spills it at the last second. And it's going to be an Ospreys put into the scrum here, but a lovely idea from Calvin Nash. The bounce just went against him.
Yeah, and also just really good ambition from Munster. They've gone narrow most of their set piece attacks for the last while, and Ospreys have got really, really tight in defence and just threw the ball over the top, caught it on the bounce, and a lovely little chip over. And he was really unfortunate. He just knocked it on as he gathered it. But Nash has been good today.
Yeah, and he really, really held the width there. You could be hypercritical and say, if he had, a step further in, and then he would have had it straight into his hands, and he would have had a little bit more time to execute it correctly. But no, he's been good. And the chip chase was almost perfect, but not quite right.
So it's an Osprey scrum, 5 metres out from their own try line, right on that far side of the pitch. Reuben Morgan-Williams set to put it in as Conor Murray watches on and just tries to put him under a little bit of pressure, but we're going to reset this scrum. Overall, Munster slow to get into this game, guys, but I suppose that second try just before half-time from Stephen Archer probably killed the Ospreys' momentum, any momentum they would have had left in that first half. The second half, there's been a bit of a training ground feel to it, is there?
But I think, it's whatever about us coming into it, being out of Europe, it is an unusual situation for us not to be, or for Munster at least, I shouldn't be saying us, my bias, for us not to be looking at, quarter-final, at least having a chance. But Ospreys have been poor all season. Ospreys were coming in here, having won no matches really of note, and I think as soon as we got that second try they clocked off a little bit, you'd have to say. And the fact that Tuperick is still playing in the centre, due to injuries and due to things, it's like, well, I think they're on clock watch now and counting down.
Yeah, I think from the Ospreys will be happy enough that they've been competitive, and they'll hope that they can build on this performance, and they'll hope the score stays as it is and keep Munster to 4 tries. But Munster have put lots of an effort in, but they're just not quite as clinical as they need to be. That final pass, that bit of execution, the Scannell drop over the line is just an example of just not being as good as they need to be. But there's reasons for that. Obviously, a new coaching ticket, and some injuries as well. Even the fact like Farrell pulling out last minute, no Earlsey this morning today, and Carby, etc. So there's reasons for it, but the real hope for me is the likes of Jack O'Sullivan, the likes of Casey, the likes of Goggin will come through and become real contenders for him.
Rory Scannell now just driving an extra couple of yards and bringing possession up towards the 22, and CJ Stander now carries, and Munster get inside the 22. Jeremy Lockman breaking off towards the right. Munster in the centre of the pitch, just inside the Ospreys 22. Even numbers left and right for Conor Murray to work with. He goes towards the left, and JJ Hanrahan, and he chips one through for Calvin Nash to chase, and it doesn't bounce right for him, but Calvin Nash has done very well, and he's driven Hanno Dirksen over the try line, and it's going to be a 5 metre scrum for Munster. One of those occasions, Bernard, where the bounce doesn't go your way, but you follow up, make the tackle, and Calvin Nash did well to drive his man over the try line.
Yeah, that's really good game management by JJ. Casey's back. Fans' favourite already, but really good game management by JJ. We got a great carry from CJ, but after that they were going backwards, and he spotted the Ospreys right winger up high, just put a good kick in behind, and obviously the real dessert is to get a try from that, but a put in 5 yards out is a positive as well.
So many changes. It's like a card game here at the moment, where Craig Casey is back on now for these last 7 minutes, and Conor Murray departs and puts the jacket back on.
Yeah, obviously was the HIA, and he's cleared it, thank God, to be back on. But I don't know whether the clap was for him coming on or Conor Murray coming off again, but either way it's great to see.
So Munster scrum 5 metres out from the Ospreys try line. I'm just going to reset this as Matthew Raynell dishes out some instructions over at Allianz Park. Still 24 points apiece between Saracens and Racing 92, heading into the last 10 minutes of their game in this pool. Coming up this afternoon as well, later on today at 3:15, it's going to be Toulouse against Gloucester. Gloucester need a win, and possibly a bonus point win if they want to overtake Glasgow and get into the quarterfinals. Toulouse, though, will be working towards a home quarterfinal, and Munster driving towards the try line now. CJ Stander, that scrum moving towards it as they go again, and they're stopped. And Munster just a metre or so out. Finian Wycherley looks like the latest who's going to pick and go and drive towards the line. Penalty advantage coming Munster's way, though, so they can have a free shot. Casey barking out instructions to his forwards, telling them to get in there. Kevin O'Byrne now is going to try break and pops it outside to one of his other forwards. Again, O'Byrne gets in over it, but we are going to come back for that Munster penalty. Munster not going anywhere, and Casey wants to take it quickly, full of energy. He doesn't have much time on the pitch, and he wants to use it as quick as he can.
Is he going back in to sort out the row now as well, or is he going in to be part of it?
There's a classic scrum half feel to him, isn't there?
Oh no, absolutely, and he's just got, as you said, oodles of energy, but like his skill level.
The smallest and loudest man on the pitch.
Yeah, but his skill level is phenomenal as well, as is his, he won't shrink a tackle as we've seen and as we saw last year as well. So it's just great. And sometimes, like we said at the start, new lads like that coming in, they have no fear really, because there is nothing to lose for them in terms of they need to just get on and have a go and start to put pressure on. And I don't think it's the stage yet that he's putting pressure on Conor Murray, but that is what's going to happen. That he will, as he grows in confidence, he will put more and more pressure on him. And training will be more interesting. And he's leapfrogged, the others that were there. Mick McCarthy, who came down from Leinster, like he'll be fair disappointed now in terms of making the move as the supposed backup for Conor Murray. But you'd have to say that Craig Casey on purely justified has leapfrogged in.
Yeah, he has, and he's a local guy. He just has a different quality. Nick McCarthy's his game is around fitness, getting the ball away quickly, but Casey seems to be that abrasive type, and you see him here, he's encouraging all his forwards. He seems to not understand where he is in the pecking order or his experience, and go in and just exude the type of character he is, which is infectious. Himself and Goggin for me are two players who maximise their size and their skill set with just pure passion and hunger to try and, I suppose, win those 50-50 balls and be strong contact and little things that don't require talent.
I think Goggin has done really, really well today. He's come in very, very early for Andrew Conway, who, like, we hope is okay. But Goggin has certainly taken his chance. Sammy Arnold, has done well, but I think out of the two late changes or introductions, Goggin has certainly, put his hand up for more senior involvement at a crucial stage.
Well, fans haven't missed anything over the last couple of minutes while we've been chatting here. We're still yet to get set in the scrum. 3 minutes to go here at Thomond Park, and the Ospreys are going to be playing these last 3 minutes with 14 players. Ollie Cracknell was sin-binned for offside for that most recent Munster penalty, and finally they get that scrum set, and Casey has it at the back, and Munster are beginning to drive towards the line, and CJ Stander breaks, and Stander gets over the line, and that's his second try of the afternoon and Munster's fifth. And with 3 minutes to go, Munster have given themselves one final try to cheer about, with a conversion to come to lead the Ospreys by 31 points to 6.
Yeah, and I think CJ deserves that. Not that getting the try is always the mark of your effort, but like, he's worked really, really hard today. And I know sometimes the comments are made that his carries aren't dynamic, and his carries he might do lots of carries, but that they're not actually making huge yardage. I think every one of them today has been very dynamic. It's been purposeful. The ball has come back, and he's been on there now for the full 77, nearly 80 minutes, and he's been working really, really hard. Again, he has young lads all around him as well, and that's infectious. I mean, I remember being here when he came as a young lad and looking at him, tearing down the pitch, and it buoyed on all the more seasoned players at the time, and time waits for nobody. And now he's not that he's anywhere near old, but it's like there's younger people pushing and coming, and it can only help build. I mean, it's the same. We let Bernard talk about Leinster now as well.
Well, we're just going to wait for Jay Jadaran to kick his conversion first, and he splits the post and puts Munster into a 33-6 lead with a minute and a half here to go at Thomond Park. Hanrahan converting 4 of the 5 tries.
Ospreys went to take a quick one there, but the ref has called them back.
As the fans start to drift out at Thomond Park with a minute to go, and the Ospreys are going to kick this again. Just over a minute to go here at Thomond Park. Munster leading by 33 points to 6, and it's batted back in the direction of Luke Price, who pops it off towards Hanno Dirksen, or towards Kai Evans, I should say. And Morgan Williams now moves it right towards Dewey Lane, and Lane is tackled by Jack O'Donoghue. Morgan Williams now penalty to the Ospreys, and Morgan Williams takes this one quickly but slips and is mobbed by Finian Wycherley on the ground. Gajon, the tight head prop, tackled by Jeremy Lockman, who was man of the match when these sides met at the Liberty Stadium, but Morgan Williams breaks and inside into the 22, And is there time for the Ospreys to get a tribe to close off their campaign in the Heineken Champions Cup this year? They're stopped midway between the 22 and the try line as Munster scramble in these last 20 seconds. Morgan Williams back outside now. And they skip it out. Tipperich, who's still playing in the centre in these probably the last 20 minutes of the game. And Calvin Nash makes a tackle over on that far touchline. Advantage being played, I think, for the Ospreys. And it's Lane now. Ospreys into the 22 as they move back towards the centre of the pitch. And Daryl Marfo with the carry. Finney Wycherley goes over the top and the ball is spilled out, and it looks like Munster have taken it over at the back, and Kevin O'Byrne, the hooker, pops it out to Stander, and Stander to JJ Hanrahan. And our Munster are going to have one more cut at this. Nothing to lose really. 33-6 in front in the final play of the game. Their final play of this season's Champions Cup. John Ryan now, Munster in possession, 10 yards outside their own 22, centre of the pitch. Casey out to Hanrahan, and Hanrahan skips it out towards Rory Scannell, and Scannell out to Jeremy Lockman now. Jack O'Donoghue hands off a couple of players and drifts back inside and pops it inside to Kevin O'Byrne, and that's a good hard line from Arno Botha. Munster right on the halfway line here. Jack O'Donoghue down injured at the moment, and Casey chicking to the left. Eventually he's tackled. Munster into the Ospreys half of the pitch. George North has got over that ball though, but have Munster managed to bring it back? They have. And Calvin Nash goes in at scrum half. Ben Healy now deputising at out half as Munster shift around their options in the back line. Spin pass out and just getting a little scrappy. Munster trying to throw it around and have one last cut before the final whistle, and Craig Casey breaks from the left and manages to shove off Luke Price, and Price is tackled, and they go towards the right, and Dan Goggin now inside, and Dan Goggin has numbers to use if he can, but no, he's called. His foot is out of play. The ball goes out, and that's the final whistle here at Thomond Park, where Munster have signed off their campaign for the Heineken Champions Cup. The quarter-final not to be, but they knew it coming into this game. But they have given their fans something to cheer about. 5 tries this afternoon, 2 for CJ Stander. He scored the first and second, bookending 5-pointers for Stephen Archer, Conor Murray and Craig Casey. Conor Murray named as man of the match. Bernard Jackman had been raving about him all afternoon. But Fiona, Bernard, overall thoughts on this display for Munster? Obviously they would have preferred if this game had something on the line, but overall they gave their fans something to smile about, and a couple of good performances from CJ Stander and Conor Murray, guys who needed it. Yeah, absolutely. I think they stood up really, and apt timing for them with the Six Nations ahead of us, and both were being talked about as being under pressure for a starting spot against Scotland. But I think it's just an opportunity to build experience, and if you look at the starting back line that started, I mean, it might be a second string back line next year with talk of Allende coming in at 12. You have Joey to come in, Bar Murray. There's talk of signing Gallagher from Saracens at fullback. Conway went off early, and Earls has come back in, and Chris Farrell. So it was a mismatch team as such. I thought Healy at the end, when he came on with JJ at one side and Healy at the other side, they had 2 first receivers. They looked more dangerous, and there is some young talent in this province, and they will come through, and Munster will come back again. I don't see them being. They're out this year as a huge disappointment, but I still see them being contenders next year. Fiona, your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I think, it's obviously the best possible result of today's match, in that we did get the bonus point and we did get the win. We played an excellent brand of rugby at times. Took us a little bit at the start to settle in, and like we said, up until that try just before half time, it was sort of, oh God, is this going to be a slug out fest where we're not going to be able to show the progress that the province has made, and it has made progress in the last 4 or 5 months. We're playing a different brand, and look, we got out of it maximum points for what we could get out of it. It's just a pity it doesn't count for something else. But from here, push on in the Pro 14 and build on that, because it is a change in system, it's a change in coaches, and I think that it just does need time to develop.
Well, we'll hear more from Bernard and Fiona after the break. They're going to hang around for a chat with Joe. For now, though, it's finished at Thomond Park. Munster 33, Ospreys 6.
Neil, thanks very much. Neil Treacy alongside Fiona Steed and Bernard Jackman. We'll get further thoughts from Fiona and Bernard in a few moments' time. The other game on at the moment in Munster's pool, Saracens 27, Racing 24. A fairly heroic under the circumstances second half from Saracens. They were trailing at the break and they've been down to 14 men. Will Skelton sent off on 40 minutes, and they've been down in this game, but they have come through, and with 3 minutes to go, they lead 27 points to 24, so they would put themselves into 8th spot on the qualification standings, which would mean they would face Leinster away in the quarter-final. So as things stand, Saracens are scraping in on what's been a very bad weekend for them, relegated from the Premiership. That has been confirmed last night, and for a good chunk of this game they were looking at being out of the competition in Europe as well, but they're hanging on in there. They have 2-3 minutes to see this out. They're in possession at the moment. We'll give you a full time when those 2-3 minutes elapse. Meanwhile, over in Croke Park, into the second half now, 43 minutes on the clock between Ballyhale Shamrocks and Borrisoleigh. And it's the Kilkenny men who lead. Henry Shefflin's Ballyhale Shamrocks 13 points, Borrisoleigh 8 points is the latest score. So 5-point lead for Ballyhale after 43 minutes. Currafin and Kilcoo of Down throws in at 4 o'clock. Premier League, we're going to bring you Liverpool against Manchester United. All the build-up with David Myler and others at Anfield in the next hour. That kicks off at 4:30. There is one game underway. It's half-time between Burnley and Leicester at Turf Moor. And it's Leicester who lead, courtesy of a Harvey Barnes goal, which came on 33 minutes. So Leicester 1, Burnley 0 at half-time. Taking a short break, we're back at Thomond Park for final thoughts from Fiona, Steed and Bernard Jackman. And then, of course, we're over to Liverpool.
Munster versus the Ospreys, live from Thomond Park.
On Off the Ball.
With Vodafone, official sponsors of the Irish rugby team. Team of us, everyone in.
Exciting afternoons with Harvey Norman. Bring the cinema home with an ultra-high-definition smart TV and surround sound from Harvey Norman. The cinema experience with no queues and no trailers.
Go, Harvey, go!
At Ford, our commercial vehicles are as hardworking as you are. The backbone of business across the country. With the new Ford Transit range, you get more power, more efficiency and more comfort. With advanced connected technology that helps you work safer and smarter. And you can get 3.9% low APR, a 5-year warranty, and up to €5,500 bonus in our 201 sales event. Ford 2020. Move your business forward. Order now at your local participating Ford dealer. Terms and conditions apply. See Ford.ie. Applicable to registrations between January 1st and January 31st.
When you sign family members up with Vodafone Red Family, our multi-mobile package, you're guaranteed the convenience of one bill and monthly savings with a third plan free when you're signed up to 2 or more plans. However, we're afraid you're not guaranteed the jokes in the family group chat will improve, that video calls will start facing the right way. No, turn it round. Or that you'll get immediate replies to just checking in texts. But for guaranteed convenience, savings and flexibility, pop in store to get Vodafone Red Family for your whole family. Well, except the dog. Free plan offer based on adding Red Plus as a third plan. Contract depends on package chosen. Offer ends February 28th, 2020. See Vodafone.ie for full terms.
The Sport Ireland campus Blanchardstown is the home of Irish sport, not just for our athletes, but for you and the community. For families, check out our kids camps, sport academies and birthday parties. For adults, why not join our newly refurbished gym with a 50-metre swimming pool, or book one of our world-class indoor or outdoor facilities, including our athletics track, sports pitches and courts. And for companies, check out our team building days, conference facilities and events. All this and more at sportirelandcampus.ie.
The election campaign has been dominated by 2 shocking moments. The gangland murder of a child and the life-changing injuries suffered by a homeless man living in a tent. Our top team of writers spell out the consequences for our politicians and for our society. In Living, John McColgan and Moya Doherty talk about love and marriage, Michael Flatley, RTE and cancer. And in Life, Dr. Eva Orsmond takes issue with body positivity and offers healthy living advice for every stage of life. The Sunday Independent, the complete read.
The NCT's looming again. It's your mum's birthday next Tuesday. The washing machine is definitely on its last legs. The thing is, there's always something. Which is why it's always worth talking to our mortgage team to see how switching your mortgage to Ulster Bank could help. Talk to us today. Oh, and don't forget your mum's birthday. Ulster Bank. Help for what matters. Over 18s and residential mortgages only. Ulster Bank Ireland DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Critics are calling The Gentleman genius, hilarious, ridiculously entertaining.
I mean, I was there and I'm still shocked.
It'll blow the doors off, says The List. 5 stars. Richie and Grant both doing their funniest working years. Can't recommend this one enough. Laugh a minute with a blinder of a cast.
Goody.
Matthew McConaughey, Charlie Hunnam, Michelle Dockery, Henry Golding, with Colin Farrell and Hugh Grant.
When the lion's hungry, he eats.
The Gentleman, in cinemas now.
Tim should be spending his time networking, scaling up his business. Who knows, maybe even opening a second office. But instead, he spends his time switching off every light, heater and electrical device in the building, when he should just talk to Energia about our cash for kilowatt scheme. With grants of up to 30% for energy efficiency upgrades, it's the one-stop, hassle-free way for businesses to see their energy bills fall. Go to energia.ie/business to find out more. Energia, the power behind your savings. Terms and conditions apply.
Get stuck into the new year with the big 2020 save from Lidl. There's super savings in store and delicious recipes waiting for you online. Warm up those cold winter evenings with our 20-minute recipe for sticky beef stir-fry with ginger and soy. Made with our lean and succulent ready-to-wok Irish beef. Was €2.49, now €2. Delightfully sizzled and fry like one cow spray, only $1.99. And don't forget, we check out our competitors' prices weekly. So when you check out, you always get better value. The big 2020 save from Lidl. More for you.
The new Land Rover Discovery Commercial is powerful,
effortless,
spacious,
comfortable.
Sorry, do you mind? The new Discovery Commercial is a beauty and a beast. With our 3-litre V6 engine, 3.5-tonne towing capability and impressive load space, it does all the heavy lifting so you can get to work. From €43,996 excluding VAT. Book your test drive today at landrover.ie. Land Rover. Above and beyond. Delivery and related charges apply.
Across Ireland. This is the IMRO Radio Awards Station of the Year. This is News Talk.
I'm Ben Finnegan. Good afternoon. Fianna Fáil is 12 points ahead of Fine Gael according to a new opinion poll. The Sunday Times Behaviour and Attitudes Survey carried out in the first 2 weeks of the year puts Micheál Martin's party on 32% and the Overridker's side on 20%. Sinn Féin is third, followed by the Greens and Labour in fifth. Labour leader Brendan Howland says when it was carried out is important considering the postponement of the RIC commemoration.
I don't think there was a household in the country that wasn't amazed at the view Fine Gael were taking on these things. And I think that has obviously manifested itself in this particular poll.
Sinn Féin says the Special Criminal Court is a 19th century solution to a 21st century problem. The party said it would abolish the non-jury court in the run-up to the last election. Now it appears to have rowed back on the position, saying there should be a review instead. Sinn Féin Justice spokesperson is Martin Kenny. He says there are clear issues with the Special Criminal Court.
That particular court, came into being over 50 years ago. It's a 19th century implement to deal with 21st century crime. And I think, we need to have a review. And in fact, it was in 2017 we saw a comprehensive review of all those emergency legislations to see how that could be dealt with and improved in some cases.
The trade group for e-cigarette sellers is threatening to take legal action to block a ban on fruit-flavoured vapes. Health Minister Simon Harris said last month the flavours are designed to be sold to children. But the Irish Vape Vendors Association says 99% of vape products in Ireland are sold to adults. Over 100 Ryanair passengers were left stranded in Poland on Friday when their flight to Dublin was moved to a different airport and then left without them. Ryanair says heavy fog in Krakow meant buses were organised to transfer travellers, but passengers say the coaches never arrived. Some are still stranded, while others say they had to spend hundreds of euro to get home. Student Laura Murphy says it took her 35 hours.
A taxi back into the city, got a train for 3 hours, got a flight to Birmingham. Had a 3-hour layover in Birmingham and then a plane home. We got home at about 9 o'clock last night. They emailed us to say, sorry for the delay and all this.
That's it for now. More in an hour.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to the AA, you can find our lowest car insurance price online, guaranteed.
A cold but dry day with some sunshine. Temperatures will range from 4 to 5 degrees, even as high as 8 in parts of Ulster and Munster. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Munster versus the Ospreys, live from Thomond Park.
On Off the Ball.
With Vodafone, official sponsors of the Irish rugby team. Team of us, everyone in.
And Munster have options out on the blind side, and Craig Casey dummies right. And Craig Casey, with his first touch of the game, has dived in over the try line. What a start for Craig Casey. What a day for the young man on his first Heineken Champions Cup appearance at Thomond Park. A local boy as well, a Shannon clubman. And he gets over for Munster's fourth try of the game. The bonus point is secured.
Yeah, routine win for Munster in the end against Ospreys. We're back to Thomond Park in just a few moments to pick the brains of Fiona, Steed and Bernard Jackman about the weekend of European rugby. Saracens look to have given themselves every chance of making the quarter-final. They don't want Gloucester to go and have a bonus point win away to Toulouse, which is a slim possibility. But other than that, we should be seeing Saracens in the knockout stages, most likely away to Leinster in what should be a very appetising quarter-final. Latest from Croke Park, we'll go there in just 1 second. Barnsley 10 points, Ballyhale Shamrocks 16 points. That's after 54 minutes. And in the Premier League, with us all looking ahead to our live game at 4:30, Liverpool against Manchester United, there is one game. Second half just started. Burnley 0, Leicester 1 is the latest in that game. I should tell you, by the way, on Wednesday, January 22nd, that is, Off the Ball's American football show, The Snap, is going to be on the road. It's in association with the Aer Lingus College Football Classic. Mike Carlson's flying over, we're very excited to say. Mossy Quinn will be there. And then the usual Snap crew of Ger, Ronan Mullen, Cian Fahey, and some more special guests building up to Super Bowl 54. So they're going to be live on Wednesday from the NFL room at the Woolshed in Dublin for a live preview of the finale to the NFL season. And if you fancy going along, you can get your tickets at offtheball.com/events. And remember, the show is for over 18s only. So that's offtheball.com/events. The lads are at the Woolshed on Wednesday. And a reminder as well that it's all in association with Aer Lingus College Football Classic. That's Navy versus Notre Dame at the Aviva Stadium, August 29th. And you can check out collegefootballireland.com for game tickets and more. The Snap, by the way, is our American football show. Comes to you every Friday, 1 o'clock on OTB Sports Radio and across our social channels. A quick clip from this week's show. We had Ger and Ronan and Stephen O'Rourke discussing Luke Kuechly's retirement. He's 28 years of age. He's a real superstar in the game. Been concussed a few times. Wasn't told he had to retire, but decided to put his health first and retire.
He couldn't, he was still so emotional making the announcement on the pre-recorded video that he was in tears. So this is not a decision that he wanted to make at 28 to step away from the game.
I feel like every time I watched the Panthers, Luke Kuechly had a concussion. So I think it's a really good decision for him. I think we're going to see it more and more. We saw it obviously with Andrew Luck retiring. Even Gronkowski retired earlier than probably most people expected. I think it's no harm. I tweeted the other day that I'd much rather my star player retired at 28 and had a really good quality of life than just played on until 38 and was dead at 50. So I'd much rather that.
Yeah, and on the positive, like, he's a nailed on Hall of Famer, like five-time All-Pro, 7 Pro Bowls in 8 years.
Somebody did ask Andrew Luck about that, like, you know, you're giving up your place in the Hall of Fame. I mean, maybe he wasn't guaranteed, maybe he was guaranteed another 3 or 4 seasons of that, and he's like, yeah, I mean, I don't care. Like,
yeah. I think what was great about Kuechly was that he completely reinvented the linebacker position. Everyone said linebacker was done, it wasn't important anymore. It was pass rush and it was defensive backs. But then because of how good he was in coverage, he reinvented that position. Now you're seeing that in college with the type of players that are coming through. They can all defend the pass as much as the run.
Yeah, it's a generational thing as well, where players who wanted to make this decision 10, 20, 30 years ago couldn't because they didn't have the money to do it. These guys, the likes of Luck and Kuechly, have made enough money where they can put their health first. And the NFL are going to have to address this if they're going to start losing star players on the regular. That can't happen. That's not sustainable.
Yeah, I wonder if things have actually even improved. You would hope that they have improved from, when did he enter, 2012? So in that period of time, have they got better at diagnosing concussions? And
Carson Wentz last week putting himself up, electing that he thought he had a concussion and he took himself out of the game almost. So you need to see that more of that.
That's The Snap, which you can listen to every Friday, our NFL show here and Off the Ball. Let's go back to Croke Park. 57 minutes on the clock. More Treacy Calig watching Ballyhale Shamrocks against Barnsley. Barnsley have closed the gap.
They have, Joe, but the trouble is I'm not sure if the scores are coming quickly enough for them, and if they're not careful or if they don't work very, very hard, very, very quickly, this one's going to run away from them. But who knows, he might have seen the turning point. Brendan Maher has just scored a massive point from under the shadow of the Cusack stand. The sun is setting here, it's a gorgeous light. He hasn't noticed that. It went to Hawkeye and they got a massive cheer, and all the players jumped out of their shoes and their boots nearly when Hawkeye judged that one did indeed go over. And it just looks like they're a bit rejuvenated. They've done all the work, they've done all the hurling, and Jerry Kelly's just gotten one over now as well for them. Now the gap is closed to 2. We've got about 2 minutes to go. They've done, like I was saying, Joe, they've done all the hurling, but just for some reason they just found the score so much harder. And I suppose that's why Ballyhale are the champions. They just don't have to work as hard. They're not even fully in tune today, but they're still in the lead.
So Borrisoleigh back to within 2 points with 2 minutes to go. When you say the scores haven't come, Mortaras, are we talking wides here or just they're not getting shots away?
Wides, dropping short, they get into great positions and then they're dispossessed, or the wides in particular, they've cut down on the wides big time, and the free taking, Brendan Maher took a few frees, a few wrong range ones, and that gave them some confidence. But as I was saying, Ballyhale, there's TJ Reid, who's just got one over the bar as well. Any time Borrisoleigh managed to make any kind of headway and they score a point that they really earned and they've worked really, really hard for, Ballyhale just get one and they make it look really easy. And unfortunately, I think Borrisoleigh gave them too much of a head start maybe in the first half. Even though Borrisoleigh were way better than them, it's just they weren't getting the scores over when they needed in the first half. And unless they get something, we're a minute and a half now, and now the gap has gone to 3 again. Now, you wouldn't know, especially with hurling, and Borrisoleigh are on the attack one more time. Jerry Kelly has twirled, and that's gone wide, and that might have made a difference now. So we're about a minute and a half. I don't know how much extra time, they haven't announced it yet, but the Borrisoleigh lads, certainly they haven't dropped the heads. They are still fighting. I've never seen a team actually fight so hard. Not at one point did the heads drop, even though at one point Ballyhale really looked like they were about to cruise into fifth gear.
Okay, so we're back to you at full time. A 3 point gap now. Ballyhale Shamrocks looking good to retain their All-Ireland title. Henry Shefflin's Ballyhale Shamrocks lead 17 points to 14 with a minute and 10 seconds of normal time to go at Croke Park. Let's go back to Thomond Park. Munster 33, Ospreys 6 points. We have Fiona Steed and Bernard Jackman standing by. How cold are you two now?
No, it's actually lovely here in Limerick, actually. The bright sunshine that was causing a little bit of trouble to the catchers of the ball is shining brightly on us, and we're perfectly happy. Well, I'm happy for the result today, and Bernard is happy because he's Leinster to the core.
They're just always happy at the moment, really.
Yes, exactly.
So 33-6, Bernard, if people didn't catch the game or heard bits of the commentary here and there, how would you sum up this performance? It's a strange kind of game, the kind of game Munster are not used to.
No, and it wasn't as fluid as the scoreline seems. I mean, Munster struggled for the first half an hour really to get any real dominance, and the Ospreys went 6-0 up, and the first couple of opportunities that Munster got to score, they squandered them, but eventually they started to play a little bit more, I suppose, directness, and started to punch holes in the Ospreys defence. And while the Ospreys stuck to their task, they looked, their heads dropped. The was task for about 60 minutes. Once Munster got that bonus point try, there really was a lot of opportunities from an attacking point of view from Munster, and they weren't as fluid as they needed to be, but I think they finished on a high, and they'll wrap it up this European campaign with at least a bonus point win in front of their home fans. But the most important thing for me, I think, was the emergence of some of their fringe players who are young and hopefully will go and give Munster greater squad depth over the next couple of years.
CJ Stander scored 2 tries on 31, and then 78 minutes. Stephen Archer scored a try on 40 minutes. Conor Murray 47, and then Craig Casey on 59, Fiona. And Ospreys were always going to break at some stage. The season they're having, where they are. If we look at the first half, maybe when the game was still somewhat alive and still a bit of a contest, and Bernard used the word there that Munster squandered chances. This is becoming an annoying habit, to say the least. How does a team eradicate that? How, when they're 5 metres from a try line at one point, I know you both commented saying it was very poor, they didn't take advantage, and they end up not taking advantage. How do they become more clinical? How do they improve this try-shy issue which seems to hang around them?
Well, I mean, they managed to improve it on the run today, which is great, which is what you really want to see, that they actually got the solutions as they were playing, and that's what you want from a team if you're coaching, that they identify the errors, they identify what's causing the issues, and then they manage to correct them. That being said, Ospreys, were poor and sort of clocked off pretty much in the second half, but it's about, I mean, they haven't had the whole team together in much the same way as the Ospreys haven't had the full Wales contingent, and they've had injuries and stuff. So the break, unfortunately, now for Munster in terms of the players going into Ireland camp and that will again halt the progress. They need to be all together over a period of time to build that, and then the intensity that you have to play and train in the same intensity and match situation, and try to replicate what you're doing on a pitch on a Saturday or Sunday in when they're on the back pitches in UL, that they're trying to do that. But I do believe it's coming, and the thing is that they stuck to the process today, and they stuck to the game plan that we've seen evolve over the season, which certainly has Stephen Larkham all over it in terms of offloading, in terms of passing, even in terms of like the trick lineups and the moves off the set piece. So it's different. But what we do want is that they're clinical when they are in that scoring zone, in that red zone. And in the first half we were disappointed, but it's coming. It could have gone either way just before half time, and like Ospreys, if they had got a sniff of Munster falling away, they would have been all over it. So they did do well to come back, but it's just, look, Ospreys wasn't great. We'll take from it what we can, which is the win. But if they were staying together, if they were playing again next week and and the following week, and had 2-3 weeks together where the whole of the squad was together, whereas now the players are going to be gone to the Ireland camp.
Do you agree it's coming, Bernard?
Yeah, I think it's not. They're not a million miles away. I mean, take today out of the equation because it was a dead rubber, and the Ospreys are an average side. I mean, there was a lot. They were very competitive last week in Racing. For long periods, just didn't have that cutting edge. They should have beaten Racing at home, missed a drop goal in the last minute, and they managed to beat Saracens here. And I think they should have got a bonus point against Saracens away. They should have taken the points in the last couple of minutes when they went to the corner. So they're not a million miles away in a very, very tough group. I think the worrying thing was, and the reason we're probably being hypercritical of them and negative about them, is probably their form over Christmas. Ulster away, Leinster coming down here and beating them. So they weren't great over Christmas period, but I don't think they're a million miles away. I think if you look at next season, they've got 2 South African internationals coming back, 2 absolute coming in, 2 world-class players. There's a very strong chance they're going to sign Gallagher from Saracens, who's Irish, qualifies a full-back. That will add to it. Hopefully Joey gets an injury free run, and then there's a couple of guys like Jack O'Donoghue, Jack O'Sullivan, Craig Casey, Dan Goggins, etc., who are starting to come through the underage system here, and again you'll have Graham Roundtree and Steve Larkham in their second season. So I do think Munster have too much history and legacy and quality, particularly the fact they're showing that ambition to bring more quality in to be not contenders for Europe again. And listen, they've done incredibly well to get to semi-finals over the last couple of years, and again we criticise them for not going that extra step, but the quality of the recruitment they're looking to make, I think, can be the difference, as well as a little bit of a transition in terms of how they want to play and some time with his coaching staff.
Yeah, fair enough. Ballyhale have won the All-Ireland Club Hurling title. Henry Shefflin's on the field celebrating with his players. We'll go over to more Trasnicalig in a couple of moments' time. Just one last point on Munster. You mentioned Joey Carbery there, Bernard. I've seen it pointed out or suggested in a couple of places over the last week or so that given what seems like a propensity to pick up injuries of different nature, I know, but a suggestion that maybe he should go back to full-back. Lots of people think he might be better there regardless, but back to full-back to take him out of the front line, that maybe physically being in that front line, taking that punishment might just not be something his body is able to take. It feels a bit early maybe to commit to that idea, but has it crossed your mind?
Well, I think it is too early, but definitely maybe if this injury rate continues, you have to look at it. Whatever decisions need to be made on Joey's position, you need to factor in the propensity he has to get injured at the moment and how important it is that he's on the pitch. And I think even the last 10 minutes Munster played with JJ Hanrahan and Ben Healy at 10 and 15, and they looked more dangerous, and because they've got 2 first receivers, Addison does an incredible job with Billy Burns at Ulster. Haley's a good player, but I don't think he has that in his skill set at the moment, and Joey's played incredibly well. Leinster saw him as a fullback more so than a 10, I think
would it protect his body more?
Yes, it definitely would. I mean, he definitely would.
So can I come in there, Joe, on that now? Yes. Sorry to butt in, but
you butt in anytime you want.
Yeah, thanks very much. Being a chartered physiotherapist by profession, and I think some of the injuries were innocuous and not necessarily related to heavy contact and that. And if we move Johnny Sexton, who had a huge propensity to be injured there in the last year, would we move him at his age? No, we wouldn't. And I don't think it's a valid argument at all, is what I have to say. Yes, he's in the front line. Some of the injuries you have to look at: when did the injury happen? How did it happen? What was the nature of the injury? And was it caused by direct collision? Was it caused by a twist? I mean, the hamstring in the Italy match, in the warm-up game for the World Cup, totally innocuous. So I think no is the answer. We brought him down here to Munster as a 10, And I think that he has all the skill sets to play there. And yes, when you're in the front line, you are getting, you have the likelihood of getting more injuries, like you do in the front row. So we're not starting to say, well, jeepers, we won't play them there now as well. So I'd say no, give him a chance. And also to give credit to JJ Hanrahan, who, went away to Northampton to find his feet when he wasn't getting game here, and came back a much better player. And I think we should be talking about it in terms of a genuine competition between himself and Joey, and hopefully Tyler when he comes back into the system as well, that you have 3 class 10s, and let's see who comes out as top class, and hopefully one of them will come out as world class and bring us back to where we were 10 years ago. And it is a long time ago, but we need to look at that and look at it as entirety. And I don't think at this stage saying, well, we'll move him to fullback, because you can twist your knee or your ankle wherever you are. You can rupture your hamstring off the bone. You see what Paul O'Connell did. So no is my answer.
No, that's fair enough. I think, it did seem like an early solution to try and sort out this current injury run, but the injuries are different, as you say, so he needs a run. We need to see how he gets on. Before you go, the Saracen situation obviously merits some comment. Announced yesterday they've been relegated. They were fined the £5.35 million and on the end of a 35-point reduction when they breached the £7 million salary limit. So what seems to have happened since then is that the clubs got together, Premiership Rugby got together, and Tony Rowe, the Exeter chief executive, was on BBC yesterday. Obviously Exeter have been one of the most outraged about the whole situation, and he was saying to BBC Radio they've taken relegation, and let's be honest, before people have sympathy for Saracens, they had 2 choices. They could either open their books so that the Premiership could do a forensic audit of exactly what has gone on, or they could take relegation. So it was their choice not to open their books. Premiership Rugby, all the chairmen want to move on. It was their opportunity to open everything up to the salary cap people or take relegation. They have decided to take relegation. They have cheated. I'm a bit upset it's taken so long to do this. At the moment, they're still picking their team each week, largely from the squad they had last year, which is still in breach of the salary cap. And they've been asked by the rest of the Premiership clubs to reduce that back as well. So that's an idea of the sentiment across the Premiership. Do you have any issue with anything Tony Rowe says there, Fiona?
No, I just wonder, are they all whiter than white? It's a bit like the Olympic sprinters who are caught doping, and then the ones that are just behind them, like how, are they whiter than white as well? And there's loads of different ways of doing it. I suppose in principle you're right, and Exeter have been hard done by in terms of they've lost. If they'd paid, if Saracens were paying their players less money and they still had the same players because nobody else would be paying them more money, they still would have beaten them. So I think there is the 2 sides. They definitely were cheating, are not prepared to do the forensic audit, and have accepted relegation. But I suppose what they probably want the rest of the Premiership clubs is that they're gone now, so that they don't have to play them for the rest of the year, so that obviously when Saracens go out to play Exeter, they're going to, if they beat them, then that's going to affect Exeter's hopes of the title. So it's a bit tricky. I was thinking about the Rangers situation in Scotland a few years ago, and when the club went into administration, and where they relegated 1 or 2 divisions, and it's all a bit odd, the whole salary cap thing. And if they got away with it, just did away with it altogether and just let them pay them whatever they want.
Yeah, I think it's too harsh, to be honest, to relegate them. It's the fine they got, 5.3 million, and the 35 points or 36 points deduction was pretty severe. And I think they have been trying to offload players for this season. And I think Tony Rowe, obviously Exeter are open arms with this, and you would imagine Exeter are being very clean on it because of how I suppose outspoken he is. But don't forget the agenda of the rest of the teams in the Premiership is, there's relegation hanging over them, and for them to have that lifeline now in January. I mean, there's a lot of clubs who are going to be unbelievably revealed, and to get Saracens down means you've got 2 years where you effectively have a cracking chance to stay up and to build in the competition. So I think there's clubs probably happy to see them gone for the wrong reasons. I think looking at a European point of view, knowing this Saracens group, it would have been very difficult for them to get themselves up for today. I mean, they were chasing that 36-point deficit, and they saw this season about staying up and I suppose overcoming the odds. And with that news on Friday, I mean, that team's going to break up now, and you know they've.
Will it? There's no way they can stick together.
It's been very hard to see them stick together, to be honest. I mean, no matter, I'm not sure actually, and this is an interesting one. Is there a salary cap in the Championship?
There's not.
There's not. Okay, well.
But they will have to open their books if they when they win promotion.
Yeah, they'd have to open the books, and that would be enough time to get it right, to be honest. I mean, like, the reality is apparently Saracens weren't that fair with agents over the course of the last 3 or 4 years, and some agents got cut out of deals. And also, so when they've gone to those agents to try and move players on over the last couple of months, you know, it's been very difficult. And also the Premiership clubs, which is their customers or their market for players, you know, they knew that if they didn't take a Saracens player, it was going to make sure that Saracens couldn't get into the market, and the market in France is closed by a medical joker. French clubs couldn't sign them, so there was nowhere for them to go. So
they can only impose pay cuts then, really, by the sounds
but
of
I know, like, no disrespect, but players are not going to take a pay cut.
No.
And any payoff they gave them counted towards the salary cap. So, you know, there's no point in them showing the books. They know what the books are at, and they had no choice but accept relegation, because they weren't going to be able to get the books in line for this season, and despite probably their best intentions. So I do feel for them a little bit. Listen, they shouldn't have broken the rules, but I thought the fine and the deduction should have been potentially sufficient. But I think now they're a real danger in Europe. I think this squad will say, you know, this is our last 3 or 4 months or 5 months together, and we could create unbelievable history and memories of winning Europe and being relegated. And I think for Leinster to get them, if they get them as 8th seed, it's the horriblest straw you could have got.
Well, at the moment they will get them. Now Gloucester are away to Toulouse, and Gloucester have to have a bonus point win against Toulouse, otherwise Saracens are in 8th. Gloucester have scored an early try, so they're 7-0 up, but we'll hold our breath there. Odds are it's Saracens against Leinster. And after the 27-24 win against Racing today, Fiona, they all got into a huddle. The cameras were around them. You could hear the screams from the huddle. This was a team saying, screw everyone, we're going to win Europe, we're going to shove it up everyone's face, and to hell with them all. Now, when they win Europe, by the way, if people are wondering, they're not getting back into Europe the following season. Relegation bars them, you know, being able to play in the second tier in England and then in the Heineken Champions Cup. So it probably will be very difficult for that team to stay together. They're trying to organise meetings with Warren Gatland, where they get 8 lines in 2017, and with Eddie Jones to see, you know, can we minimise the impact here on the players. But Owen Farrell apparently stood up in a meeting and said he's staying, but just financially I'm not quite sure how it'll all work.
Yeah, well, I suppose none of us are going to know the finances and whether when they're in the Championship and going up to Doncaster and places like that as potential European champions, you know, it'll be brilliant for all those clubs in Division 1. But I suppose they've found ways around things so far and seem to, obviously they've got caught, but the fact that they're going to take the relegation, I'd say they have a plan. You know, can you pay somebody two seasons' salary in one season, and then the next season when you're coming up, then there you go into your.
That's very crafty. That's brilliant, but crafty.
That's what I'd be doing anyway. Do you know?
Are you sure you're a chartered physio and not an accountant?
Yeah. I handle the finances as well. Yeah.
Bernard, you'd accept that, wouldn't you? If you want for an easy figure, $100,000 a year contract, and they said we're going to give you 100, we're going to give you 75 grand this year and 25 next year, and that means you stay at the club. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, they all would be.
Yeah.
They all would be.
There you go. There's the
Might
plan.
be possible.
I should
Might be
sell
possible.
my idea. There's loads possible, but it's great. I mean, but as Neil said during the match, you know, if it was Leinster Sarries in the quarter, like up in Dublin, like it'll be sell out. It'd be just fantastic. I mean, I went over to the final last year in Newcastle, and just because I love Newcastle, and it was just brilliant atmosphere. So Dublin would be rocking, and like, you know, all the non-Leinster supporters that might go up just to support Sarries, to be to be a good match. All right.
What about a final point without naming names? Bernard, Fiona made the point that is everybody whiter than white in the Premiership when it comes to salary?
Not the rumour is no, and a couple of years ago there was a bit of an inquiry, and a couple of clubs put their hand up and they let it slide. But maybe because that process had already happened, maybe they said, look, next time there's someone steps out of the line, we're going to come down hard. But listen, I think what's happened to Saracens now, if anyone is out of a line or messing with the figures, they're going to know the consequences. So we'll clean it up. But Pro 14, there's no salary cap, so Saracens win in Europe. We can't really complain about that. They have the right to spend as much as they want in Europe.
Oh yeah, I'm sure French clubs are outspending them 2- and 3-fold. Darren Childs, Chief Executive of Premiership Rugby, said Premiership Rugby is prepared to take strong action. He's not kidding. I can't believe this has happened, I have to say, as we begin to wrap up. I thought when this whole thing broke, I was surprised at the fine. I was then surprised at the extent of the points reduction, and I'm shocked that they're gone.
Yeah, me too. And I think, you look at the CCV money, the private equity money that's gone in, the people who invested that, they must be just going, what have we invested in? Because it's a stain on the game to a certain extent, in the professional game. It's just not, it's not good. Whether, the whole thing's handled, the fact there's cheating in it, and now, to Saracens to be relegated, and the quality of players they've built, and the squad they've built up, and in fairness, they have put a good academy together as well. It's just not ideal.
Yeah. So, and just to be final and be clear, because you alluded to it, and it's a key point, I think, the other Premiership chairman would have had a big input in this latest decision to relegate them.
Without a doubt, they're stakeholders in the game, and I'm sure they were canvassed for opinion, and I'm sure, Tony Rose has come out really clearly and loudly, and Exeter have really fell I suppose at Saracens' sword in high profile games, but it's in the other clubs' interest. London Irish, for example, Worcester, for them to get a guaranteed survival is absolutely massive.
Yeah. Okay. Fiona, Steed, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Bernard Jackman, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Joe. Bye.
So Munster at 33, Ospreys 6, the full-time scoreline again from Thomond Park this afternoon. In our first live game, our second live game coming to you in the next hour from Anfield, Liverpool against Manchester United. In the first Premier League game of the afternoon, Chris Wood has equalised for Burnley, so it's 1-1. Burnley at home to Leicester this evening, and as we mentioned, Ballyhale Shamrocks are All-Ireland champions in the hurling. Let's go back to more Treacy Callig. So that's pretty impressive. Henry Shefflin might be a manager in this guy.
There might be. He might be quite good at it. Who knows? He's got a bright future ahead of him. But yeah, looking at today, the difference was experience. Bursley were every bit as good as them. They just weren't as good at executing it, and that's where, as everybody was from Tullerone last night was saying, the Croke Park factor. I think it came into play today, definitely. And Ballyhale were better equipped for it, because today wasn't even a good day for them. They weren't as good as we associate them to be. He won't be putting today's performance up as a shining example for them to aspire to in future, but it didn't matter. They did enough. Even though Bursley kept grinding away, they never let the heads drop. They were in it right till the end, but they needed the X factor, and the X factor never came.
18 points to 15, the final scoreline, so a 3-point gap. You mentioned in a previous update that Ballyhale probably were given too much of a head start. How far ahead did they get?
They got ahead, and they went in at full time. I'm open to correction on this. They went in 4 points up, or 5 points up, should I say, at half time.
Right.
And that was a big head start, because that's when Bursley had their purple patch. Jerry Kelly in particular, he got some beautiful scores, and there was one he got from a very acute angle, and he got it over the bar, and he turned around to the crowd. There's a massive cheer from the Bursley supporting crowd in the Cusack stand, and he gave them a massive fist bump, and the whole team looked to be really revived by this. But then they didn't kick on from there, whereas Ballyhale, they were doing some really kind of silly shots at goal. They went wide, one went short. They never really looked to threaten for goal, which is what you associate Ballyhale with, especially when you've got the likes of Adrian Mullen on your team, who's always threatening them. And Ballyhale never looked like they were going to pull it out of the bag today, but because Bursley just didn't get to the gear they needed to, and I think experience is the factor there, Ballyhale were going to win out, and the experience showed in the second half. Like I said, Bursley were working very, very hard to see any kind of dividends or reward, whereas Ballyhale just made it look very easy. It was very kind of third gear, give me the ball, slot it over the bar, I'm only jogging here, but it's not that Ballyhale were being lazy, it's just they weren't in top form either. So Bursley, I think tonight definitely there'll be some soul searching, I think, going home on the bus thinking if only we had done this. But again, isn't that what every losing side does? It's shoulda, woulda, coulda, and a lot of times the only difference between the top two in a final like this is one or two decisions or one or two players not being on song, and just I think the Croke Park factor, it got to them today.
Yeah, it often happens in the club final. The likes of Joey Holden, finally Michael Fennelly, TJ Reid, Colin Fennelly, you mentioned Adrian Mullen. Any star performers today?
Let's put it this way, you would say that you would expect them all to be a bit better today. They're just, now maybe that's because Bursley didn't let them. I mean, let's give them a bit of credit too. Brendan Maher in particular was amazing. I thought Owen Reid got a few really beautiful scores, and so did Evan Shefflin. And again, you don't associate them with Evan because he's back in the backs, but he pulled forward a few times when it looked like Shamrocks just weren't making the headway they needed. He ran up to kind of give me the ball and went and did it himself. So that was really impressive to watch. TJ, of course, I think sometimes because we expect TJ to be brilliant when he's not absolutely amazing, like Joe Canning, we think he only had a med day, but TJ kept him in it because Bursley a few times had to pull players down. Like at one point in the first half they had to drag Adrian Mullen down to stop kind of an oncoming goal, which of course opens up a whole other debate about rules and regulations in hurling, but I'd rather drag him down and give away a free than let him go on, and chances are he was going to score that goal because you could tell he was preparing the bullet in the rifle, you know. But TJ really kept him in it with his free taking, and he kept the head a few times. I'll hit a few over the bar nice and handy, and that made the difference. It was as simple as that, really. And just looking here now on the field, the Kilcoo side are out, as are Currafin. The Currafin are now, they're doing their warm-up in front of the empty Hill 16, and Kilcoo are down the canal end getting their last minute preparations done. So a lot of excitement still here. Yeah,
hopefully this is a cracker. We'll check in with you before 4 o'clock. More Treacy Callaght there. Ballyhale Shamrocks, All-Ireland champions again, 18 points to 15 against Barcelona of Tipperary. Short ad break, we're at Anfield next.
Off the ball on News Talk. The Hard Shoulder with Ivan Yates.
Every Thursday on the show, I sit down with public figures from the world of sport, politics, entertainment, business, whatever, for what we call the Thursday interview. And this Thursday, the 23rd of January, thanks to McGuigan Wines, we'll be coming